The Tigers put up 3 runs in the top of the 8th to rally past Kansas City 3-2 on Monday. Kansas City's lost 9 of their last 11. Taylor Clark took the loss. He gave up 3 runs on a hit and a walk over 2/3 of an inning. The Guardians shut out the Pirates 11-0 in Pittsburgh Monday. Cleveland able to snap a 4-game skid. Josh Naylor, 3 RBI with a home run and a double. Naylor's 6th-inning RBI double extended his hitting streak to 8 games and gave Cleveland a 5-0 lead at the time. Pirates starter Quinn Priester ripped for 7 runs on 7 hits over 5 1/3. The Guardians sit a game and a half out of first place in the American League Central. The Giants and Reds were suspended at 2 apiece. They'll pick up the game this afternoon with 1 out in the top of the 8th. The Giants have won 5 straight and 6 of 7. They'll start with runners on 2nd and 3rd. For lightning fast updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of North America's most popular sports apps. That's the Sports Flash. Chuck Sanders, Western Reserve Radio.
At Taco Bell, we like to keep mornings simple because before 11 a.m., you're not down for whatever.
No.
You're not interested in trying new things.
No.
You want a breakfast that's toned down and delicious, like the Breakfast Crunch Wrap with fluffy eggs, sausage, melty cheese, and a crispy hash brown in a grilled tortilla.
I want to eat that.
See? You may not be a morning person, but it's morning, and you're a person. Taco Bell breakfast, served until 11 a.m. At participating Taco Bell stores during breakfast hours only while supplies last.
This radio commercial was made to convince you to stop speeding. We can't use siren sound effects on the radio, so we'll use other equally jarring sound effects to get your attention. Like telling you that whether you drive a little over the speed limit or a lot, you can crash just the same. You could hurt yourself, or worse, others.
I'm at the scene of the collision.
And the damage you cause will be beyond repair. See? We didn't have to use crash or siren sounds after all. Speeding catches up with you. Brought to you by NHTSA.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Sandrock Concrete specializes in all types of concrete, driveways, sidewalks, basements, and garages. We also do stamped colored concrete in many different designs. We do interior and exterior stonework, regular brick and block work. Sandrock Concrete is fully insured. Call Jerry Sandrock at 330-506-0013 for an estimate. Also find them on Facebook at Sandrock Concrete LLC. Sandrock Concrete, where you deal with the owner all the time.
This is Matt Lipsack, the voice of the Youngstown Phantoms, and your home for Phantoms hockey is Western Reserve Radio.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Come out to the 36 beautiful hole design course by Donald Ross, and golf lessons are available by calling the team shop at 330-740-7112. Don't forget about family fun nights on Friday and Saturday evenings, a family of 4 with cart for only $25. Or visit the Wick Recreation Area and the lighted Par 3 course. Book your tee time today at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Located in Applewood Estates in Boardman Township, the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club offers a pleasant family environment. Choose a membership that meets your needs and enjoy a relaxing venue that includes not only swimming for the family, but also youth activities such as competitive swimming, tennis, and more. Enjoy the friendly atmosphere all summer long with the staff and members of the Applewood Swim and Tennis Club. For more information, go to applewoodswimandtennis.com or call 330-953-2833.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Meet Josh.
Hi, everybody.
Josh is a high school basketball player, solid shooter, great teammate.
Hey, don't forget my tenacious D.
And he's my son.
Wow.
So, what does Josh do to be the best basketball player he can be?
I play tennis.
Studies show that student athletes here in Ohio who play more than one high school sport are more likely to excel. Tennis does more than improve Josh's conditioning. It gives him a fresh competitive outlet, reduces the risk of injury by cross-training, and introduces him to different coaching techniques and new friends.
Don't get me wrong, hoops are my first love. Tennis just gives me a little break.
So when the new season begins, Josh isn't burned out on basketball. He's eager to play, and you can see the difference in his game.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
And good evening and welcome to another episode of By All Means right here on Western Reserve Radio. It is season 4, episode 23. That's 141 overall if you are keeping track. The show is always presented by Mill Creek Golf Course. Visit millcreekmetroparks.org for more information. Find us on Facebook, Western Reserve Radio, on Twitter at WR_radio. Download the Live 365 app or download TuneIn. Go to westernreserveradio.com, all part of the iMeda1 network. Before we get to our first guest, just want to congratulate our sponsor, Brian Tonar, who is the Director of Recreation and Golf at Mill Creek Golf Course. His son, Preston, had his first hole-in-one last Thursday at Mill Creek Golf Course on the North Course. And you're saying, Mark, well, hole-in-ones are great, but he's 9 years old. He got his first hole-in-one. He has been playing the last several years and continues to improve. So congratulations to Brian's son, Preston, on his first hole-in-one at the age of 9 years old. We are going to talk fantasy football today because the Fantasy Football Expo is coming to Canton August 11th through the 13th. And Bob Long is on the phone to talk with us about that. Bob, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. And I'm very jealous of the 9-year-old. I've been playing since I was 12, so that's almost 50 years. I still don't have a hole-in-one.
Yeah, I asked Dad, I said, when did you get your first hole-in-one? And he said, let's not talk about that.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So let's go back before we get to now and kind of tell me, how the Fantasy Football Expo came to be and how long you've been doing it.
The fantasy football I've been doing, this will be year number 4. And I being the fact that I've lived in Canton, Ohio my whole life, and I've also, for the last 34 years, have been a driver during Hall of Fame weekend for the enshrinees, I kind of watched how they blossomed that little 2-day event back in when I was a kid to this 5-day extravaganza. And I always thought to myself, well, I'm pretty well known in the fantasy football industry. I know a lot of people. Maybe I could put together an expo to make it into a weekend event just like they do, but the week after Hall of Fame, which is obviously right at the peak of the fantasy football draft season. And needless to say, the dream came true, and here we are going into year 4. Last year we had 750 people from not only all around in the United States, but we had actually three people come from overseas to the event as well. So it's continuing to grow, and it's turning out to kind of the dream I was hoping for.
I mean, what a perfect place for Canton for this. Yeah. I talk about it, our high school state championships for football are played there. And we had 3 teams from Youngstown make it to Canton. It's the mecca of football, no matter what you're talking about.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And now with this Hall of Fame village that they're building around it, which is making it even easier for people to come into town. Before I used to just say, well, bring your spouses with you. You can have them go to Gervasi since they probably are not into fantasy football. But heck, next year they're going to build a brand new water park. You can bring the whole family and make a weekend out of it. And now mom and the kids can go to the water park and enjoy the Ferris wheel and all the other things to do around Canton, while dad or mom both can be into fantasy football, obviously. They can hang out at the expo and do what they want to do as well. So it's kind of a perfect scenario.
So kind of take me through it. I think I've read everything on your website promoting this event, but it's a 3-day event. Kind of take us through the process.
So Friday night, we have a kind of an opening party, kickoff party for the weekend down at Centennial Plaza, which is downtown Canton. That's from 6 to 10 on Friday night. And it's just kind of a hang around. But we also have a fun cornhole tournament that we have 62 or 32 teams participate in, of all the participants that come in from all over the country, as I mentioned. Saturday, we go to the Hall of Fame, where we have the top top experts draft in the country called the King's Classic. It's broadcast live on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio all day from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. But in people's ticket packages, when you come in for the weekend, you actually get a ticket to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So a lot of people who have never toured the Hall before will come in and tour the Hall as well. Saturday night, we have a party at the end zone of the Tom Benson Stadium. And again, just kind of a hangout and have fun. Saturday afternoon from 5 to 7, we also do a little flag football tournament. And then Sunday all day inside the Center for Performance, or as I call it, the Dome, behind the Hall of Fame Stadium, is our expo all day from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And every kind of panel you can think of, any kind of league that you play in, whether it's Dynasty, Devy, Redraft, IDP, whatever that case may be, we're going to have a panel discussion about it with some of the top experts in the country there that you can ask questions to and learn from. And there's 50 booths of all the top sites in the country that come there. It's just a great fantasy football day inside the Dome, and that's the weekend. And if you walk away bored, there's something went wrong. But we had a great time, and like I said, we had 750 last year. We're hoping for even more this year.
You know, Bob, I was talking to my friends in my league, and I was telling them about this and, seeing what they wanted to know more about the 3-day event. And the same question kept coming up over and over again. Is coming to this going to help me win my league? And the answer is?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, everybody, like I said, it's anybody comes to this event. I'm sure that, for many of you, you follow some of the biggest names like Andy Behrens from Yahoo or Mike Clay from ESPN or Bob Harris from Fantasy Diehards. So all the Sirius XM hosts all come into town. If you come out of there not learning something, you didn't pay attention, that's for sure. There's so many things to do and so many people to talk to and learn from. You certainly should come out of that weekend knowing a lot more than you did before you went in.
If somebody's interested in learning more about the event or purchasing tickets, how do they go about it?
Go to thefantasyfootballexpo.com. The ticket packages are there. And you can, if you want to just come on Sunday because you live in the area, you live in Northeast Ohio, don't want to come to all the parties and all that kind of stuff, which is fine. It's only $20 to get in. And it's, again, at the Center for Performance at the Hall of Fame, behind the Hall of Fame Stadium there at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But you can get your tickets ahead of time at thefantasyfootball.com, or you can just show up that day and buy at the door. That's fine as well.
Bob Long on the phone with us, the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, August 11th through the 13th. And, one of the other things some of my guys asked me is, how do you weed out the noise? There's so many people that proclaim to be experts in fantasy football. How do you take all that information in, but yet come to a conclusion that you're comfortable with, whether it's a draft pick or a trade or a lineup?
Well, you just have to trust your gut. I mean, I always tell people, I've been doing this for 20 years, writing my own information about the importance of consistency in fantasy football. I write my own annual fantasy football consistency guide that you can get on Amazon. But I just tell people to, it's still your team. Make it your team. Yes, you can certainly listen to a lot of people out there and get nuggets here and nuggets there of tidbits of information that can help you kind of gain that edge. But you still have to make the decision of who to draft, who to start, but make it your team. Don't rely on somebody else just to tell you what to do and you follow. Take their advice, listen to them, but make it your team and make sure that you have fun doing it. And I think you'll do okay.
And, I think about back to when I first started playing and, this was a calculator and a piece of paper. Then It grew to maybe, a Yahoo league, and then it's continued to grow and grow and grow. Just take a minute and talk about the growth of the sport and the fact that you can put on X, Y, and Z network and they all have their different fantasy football show and experts.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I started playing in 1985, so before the internet, like you said, paper, pencil. I mean, I actually did have a personal computer back then. I think it was 256K hard drive space on my floppy drive. But, so I've watched it grow to now 60 million people in the United States alone play fantasy football. I mean, it's hard for me not to walk into a room and pick, and just start asking people, and boom, it's females, it's males, it's dads and their sons or their daughters. I mean, I have two of my daughters that play in leagues. It's a great camaraderie kind of event. And that's what I think the fun part is yeah, it's an NFL thing and you're following players, but the fun part is the drafts and the trash talking, the camaraderie, the fun of it. But yeah, it's amazing how this has grown into this basically international event. I mean, I just went to London for the European Fantasy Football Expo that was in their second year, and they had 100 people show up in London, and they had live drafts and everything else. So this is not just, a local, few people doing this. This is worldwide now.
I'm curious to get your answer to this. I've been asked this by multiple people. Well, how can you draft so-and-so player and root for them when your team is playing against them? And my standard answer is, I'm a Browns fan. I'm used to losing. It doesn't matter. How do you respond to that?
Well, as a Browns fan, I commend you on that, because pretty much what I said. But here's what I explained, and I've had this question many times, and here's what I've said to people. If I'm watching the Browns playing, let's say, the Kansas City Chiefs, right, in a regular season game, and I have Patrick Mahomes as one of my fantasy quarterbacks, right, I'm going to root for the Browns to win 31-28, but I want Patrick Mahomes to throw 4 touchdowns for me. It's that simple. I want the best of both worlds. But as you know, Mark, and as I know, and as Browns fans, probably not going to win 31-28. They might lose 28-50, to 17. As long as Mahomes still throws my 4 touchdowns, I'm still happy, at least for my fantasy team, though I'm sad for my Browns. So, like you said, the Browns have certainly struggled with their, performances in the past. We hope this is a good year with Deshaun Watson, coming to full spectrum. We hope they've got the team to do it. Now let's see if they can do it. But yeah, that's how I kind of root. I root for the Browns to win, but I also root for my fantasy players to perform as well against them, just in case the Browns don't win.
I also get asked, well, you have multiple teams. You may have this player on your team, but you're going against him in that league. Like, how do you keep it straight? I said, you know what? I've been doing this for a long time, so it's one of those where you have your primary league, you have your secondary league, and you may have others that you just play for fun or to talk junk with your friends.
Yeah. So I play in about 30 leagues every year. So I don't even try to keep track of who's playing against who. I just, at the end of the weekend, go, oh, did I win? Oh, I won this game. I won this one and won this league. But yeah, I definitely have my favorite leagues that I want to win and I certainly want to do better at. So I'm going to root for those players a little bit more. But yeah, I've stopped even trying to worry about who's playing against who on a weekly basis.
So we've only got a couple minutes left with Bob Lung from the Fantasy Football Expo, coming to Canton August 11th through the 13th. And we're excited. Myself and another member of my league, we will be there on Sunday.
Perfect.
But tell us a little bit more about everything that's going on. And if people want to get tickets, we want to make sure they have that information.
Yeah, again, it's a 3-day weekend. If you don't, if you live close to the area, Northeast Ohio, and you only want to just, learn and go and, take in the whole thing there, just go to the expo on Sunday. You can either walk in the door at the Dome, and it's $20 to get in, or you can buy tickets ahead of time. If you want to spend the whole weekend with us, which we'd love to have you, you just go to thefantasyfootballexpo.com, click on buy tickets. Then if there's 3 different packages, there's one for the whole weekend, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's a Saturday and Sunday only, and then there's just a admission ticket for Sunday. So we'd love to have you. Definitely stop in, say you heard us on Western Reserve Radio. Mark, I'm looking forward to meeting you and your friends, and can't wait. It's going to be a good time.
Let me ask you what I think is the most difficult fantasy question as we go out the door.
Got it.
When should you take a running back?
It all depends on your league, depends on your league scoring, and depends on the rest of the owners in your league. Every draft I'm in, I always feel like it's a little bit different. Drafting against 11 other experts in the field that I know and respect is going to be a different draft than drafting against my friends and family that, live in the area. But going into that, I can predict better against a bunch of experts of how they're going to draft than I can against a bunch of people that I don't know. So you just kind of have to go with the flow. Always be prepared with plan A, B, and C, and sometimes D. But, this year, if you're in a points per reception league, wide receivers are the way to go. I certainly have drafted 3 receivers in the first 3 rounds and then drafted my running backs. But again, it all just depends on your league and how it all plays out. Sometimes, if it's a standard scoring where you don't get any points for receptions, running backs are certainly going to be more valuable because they get passing and receiving yards. So that's what you got to look at. But yeah, it's definitely a different world now, and the people are now drafting wide receivers a lot more earlier than they used to than running backs. So,
Bob, appreciate a few minutes. Looking forward to meeting you on August 13th at the Fantasy Football Expo, and thanks for a few minutes of your time.
Thanks so much, Mark. Appreciate it, and looking forward to meeting you as well.
That is Bob Long from the Fantasy Football Expo. That is August 11th through the 13th in Canton at the Dome, as he said, there behind beautiful Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton. Myself, my colleague James, who's also been in most of my leagues over the years, and will be with me for that on Sunday. So we'll post them on social media. We'll tell you all about it. By all means, goes into what's trending after this on Western Reserve Radio.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Mill Creek Golf Course is the host venue for the AJGA PGA Hope Program, 8 high school teams, and 2 collegiate teams. Mill Creek Golf Course is your Callaway certified golf club fitting facility. It was named the PGA of America's National Merchandiser of the Year for a public facility 2022. Book your tee time at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Accidents happen. That's why you need Repair That Glass. Specializing in windshield replacement and all other auto glass, we offer a full range of automotive glass repairs. Our technicians can do everything from minor chip repair to a complete replacement. Your windows don't go up or down, they can fix that too, along with custom glass work and antiques. Repair That Glass is a family-run business for over 40 years. Repair That Glass. Call for your appointment now at 330-534-3192.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. It is By All Means right here on Western Reserve Radio, brought to you by our friends at Mill Creek Golf Course. Thank you to Bob Lung. The Fantasy Football Expo coming to Canton August 11th through the 13th, and he joined us to tell you all about that. And if you want to beat your friends in your draft, you definitely need to be at the Fantasy Football Expo. And I'm bringing somebody from my league to the Expo, so what was I thinking? Hopefully he doesn't end up beating me in the draft this year. What's trending? Some news for Youngstown State basketball. Former Penguin forward Adrian Nelson has signed a deal to play pro basketball for Bamberg Baskets of the top German tier basketball Bundesliga. A one-year deal with Bamberg for the Northern Kentucky transfer that averaged close to a double-double last year for the Penguins, 13.5 points and 9.4 rebounds per game, while shooting over 50% from the field. And how about last night? A championship was won in Cleveland. And the city is still standing today. Can you believe that? Yeah, it may have been a Summer League championship, but it was still a championship nonetheless. Isaiah Mobley, 28 points, 11 rebounds, and the Cavs captured their first Summer League championship with a 99-78 victory yesterday over the Rockets. It was, again, the first Summer League championship for the team that went 6-0 on the year. Mobley was voted the game MVP. Sam Merrill poured in 27 points, making 6 of 12 three-pointers. And Imani Bates, who I was impressed with, I will tell you that. There were a few times he forced up a couple of shots, but that is the NBA in 2023, 2024. Everybody's firing from just inside the midcourt logo. Bates added 19 points for the Cavs team that finished 6-0, and we'll see if they can get past that first round. They were, out-physicaled by the Knicks in that first-round playoff series last year. We'll have to see what the Cavaliers can do in 2023, 2024. But the year is off to a nice start. It's a championship, I guess. I don't know if they'll put a banner up at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. We'll have to wait and see. Browns news. The Browns and their legend Clay Matthews among 60 seniors, coaches, and contributors that have moved one step closer to induction to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Matthews is a semifinalist for the 6th time and was a 3-time All-Pro and named to the Pro Bowl 4 times. He was a finalist in 2021. Matthews appeared in 278 games, tallying over 1,500 tackles. He also tallied 83.5 sacks, 27 forced fumbles, 14 fumble recoveries, and 16 interceptions. What is taking us so long? I have just baffled at this over the last couple of years. It does not make any sense to me whatsoever how Clay Matthews is not in the Hall of Fame yet. It's been a while since we've had a Browns player go in. What are they waiting for? The numbers, like I just read through them, they speak for themselves. Plus 1,500 tackles, more than 80 sacks, 27 forced fumbles, 14 fumble recoveries, 16 interceptions. That's pretty good for a linebacker, and a nice long career that Matthews had with the Browns. This guy is the Hall of Famer. We do not need him to be another semifinalist again. Clay Matthews needs to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Jumping to some baseball news, the Guardians announced their 2024 season opener begins with a 10-game road trip. How about this? 4 games in Oakland, March 28th through the 31st. Then they'll take on Seattle in a 3-game series, April 1st through 3rd. Then they go back to the Midwest to play the Twins in a 3-game series at Target Field, April 4th through the 7th, before coming home on Monday, April 8th against the White Sox. The Guardians' first homestand is a 3-game set against the White Sox and a 3-game weekend series against those Yankees. At least on this year's schedule, the Yankees are a weekend game, so maybe the crowds will be a little bit bigger, knowing the Yankees come in April 12th through the 14th. Last night, it's not Browns Steelers, but, Pirates, Guardians, both teams not having the years that they wanted. But it was an impressive win last night for the Guardians. They got to Quinn Priester after he was perfect through 3 innings, end up beating the Pirates at PNC Park last night by a final score of 11-0. This is the game. If the Pirates are going to get one of this 3-game series, and I'm just strictly speaking on the pitching matchups, if the Pirates are going to get one of these 3 games, and they did something we were all waiting for them to do. They made, 6-7 roster moves before the game. They brought up a bunch of youngsters. It was the first time the Pirates had a major league debut of a pitcher and a catcher in the same game since the early 40s. I think it was 1943, they said last night. So you're virtually facing a AAA team, but Mitch Keller's an all-star, and you're going to say, well, somebody has to be an all-star for the Pirates. Mitch Keller would have been an all-star no matter what because of the year he is having. Keller's 9-4, 331 earned run average. The Pirates are going to get one of this 3-game series. It is tonight And then the series wraps up with a 12:35 day game that my wife and I will be in attendance. Looking forward to that. Hopefully I can break my streak of games where I've gone this year where the Guardians either do not score or just do not win. I haven't seen them win all season. It's Aaron Savali and Rich Hill. Savali 3-2, 2.65. Hill 7-9, 4.76. And I will say this much. Of all the pitchers in the rotation for the Guardians right now, and of course they're down Bieber, they're down Quantero, who's been terrible this year, and they're down McKenzie, and hopefully he'll be back sometime in August. Savali's been the best pitcher they've got. So we'll see. Is it a sweep potentially? Is it try to take 2 out of 3 with Savali on the hill? It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. The Guardians welcome the Phillies at home this weekend for the first of 3 starting on Friday, where they had announced already that Saturday's game against the Phillies is sold out. The Pirates, boy, it just feels like they were on the West Coast before the All-Star break. They're heading right back out there for 6 beginning on Friday, where they have 3 in LA against the Angels, and then they will have 3 in San Diego against the Padres before they come home and host the Phillies. And we're going to learn a lot. The trade deadline is not that far away. And no, I'm not talking about do the Angels trade Ohtani, because that's the biggest story in baseball. Do the Guardians make any moves? Because I'm assuming the Twins are going to make moves. And there's no wild card coming out of the American League Central. That's pretty obvious. So we'll see. What do the Guardians do? What do the Pirates do? There's some speculation they may trade Rosario. We know that Jose Ramirez wants Rosario locked up to a long-term deal. But I'm curious what you can get for Ahmed Rosario. Then the question becomes, what do they do? Does Jimenez move to second, or move from second to short? Do they stay at second and do they put Freeman at shortstop? Do they bring up Brian Rocchio from the minors, who we've seen a few times this year? Let him play short. Let Jimenez stay at second. We're going to learn a lot in the next, couple of weeks. And it's one of the, you won the American League Central. But the way the playoff system is set up right now, you're going to be a 3 seed. You got a chance to win at least one round and then see what happens. Because more than likely, the wild cards are all going to come out of the American League East. So no wild card in the other 2 divisions. Whoever wins those divisions, that's their only shot at making the postseason. So we'll find out how that all plays out here in the next couple of weeks. And when you dive into that portion of the schedule, I mentioned after you wrap things up with Pittsburgh tomorrow, you've got Thursday off. Excuse me, let's get to the right page. And they have Thursday off before the 3-game series against the Phillies that I mentioned earlier is sold out. So you come home after the 6-game roadie. You've got Philly for 3, Kansas City for 3, then the White Sox for 4, and Houston for 2 on the road. So you've got an opportunity to find some W's there if you could get the offense rolling. Josh Naylor's been hitting. Jose Ramirez has been hitting. Bo Naylor, when he plays, has been hitting as of late. Do I expect him to score 11 runs every night? No. It was nice the way they were kind of able to add on as the game went along in a bullpen game. And you know what? Let's give credit last night. Xavier Curry came out, gave you 3 scoreless innings. And he's a guy, and they don't really have that swing position anymore where you could start or you're the long man. That doesn't really exist in baseball anymore. But he gave you 3 really good innings. And, we've seen that with Curry. We saw that with Hentges the last couple of years. Guys that were starters that have found new life moving to the bullpen. And it's one of those where these coaches, they know, okay, you can go out for an inning or two and completely air it out and give max effort for 2, maybe 3 innings, depending on how long they leave you in there. They've made a lot of the right decisions. I saw some people on social media over the weekend when that Texas Rangers series was, Tito's overrated. He's not a good manager. And my question is that simple: is who are you going to get that's any better? And do not tell me Sandy Alomar, because he interviewed for multiple jobs and not gotten any of them. And there has to be a reason for that. Do I think he's the heir apparent to Francona? I do. But I'm not pushing Francona out for him, because that's absolutely ridiculous. There's no way I would do that. Time for a break. We'll get back to the high school football interviews. Sean Guerrero from Springfield is up next.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Come out to the 36 beautiful hole design course by Donald Ross, and golf lessons are available by calling the team shop at 330-740-7112. Don't forget about family fun nights on Friday and Saturday evenings, a family of 4 with cart for only $25. Or visit the Wick Recreation Area and the lighted par 3 course. Book your tee time today at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Mill Creek Golf Course is the Valley's leader for golfing fun, with a practice range, short game area, and hole 55 bar and grill all on site. Mill Creek Golf Course features a friendly PGA professional staff available for instruction, along with 36 challenging holes designed by the legendary Donald Ross. Don't forget family fun night golf on Fridays and Saturdays for just $25. For details and tee times, call 330-740-7112 or go online to millcreekmetroparks.org.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
The storks are bringing me a baby brother! We can do this together!
All right, let's go. Storks know how to keep kids safe. Do you?
What? Oh my gosh, you don't know.
I know.
You don't? Oh man, you laugh when you're uncomfortable.
No. Making sure your child is in the right car seat is one of the steps to safer travel.
I will rock this!
You will rock this! To know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. Cool. Very cool. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies.
Like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan.
Separated.
We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
Idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was fine.
the most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Message. Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
That's where it all begins, with the rich sports history that we have in the Valley. We're going to talk national, we're going to talk regional, but it all begins here at home. So that is where a lot of those topics and conversations that we have with you every Tuesday are going to come from.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio at westernreserveradio.com on the Live 365 network and the Live 365 app.
Welcome back, By All Means, episode 141 of our 4 years here on Western Reserve Radio, brought to you, of course, by our friends at Mill Creek Golf Course. Visit Mill Creek Metro Parks For more information, of course, go to their website. Find it at millcreekmetroparks.org. Time to talk some high school football, as we will do every Tuesday leading up to the start of the season in August. And on the phone with us is Springfield head coach Sean Guerrero. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm great. Thanks for coming on. We always appreciate a few minutes of your time.
Oh, no problem. I enjoy doing it.
So let's jump in, and I got to ask you first and foremost, how is progress on the field going? I'm sure you're excited to have turf for the upcoming year.
Yeah, right now, actually, they just laid down the turf, I would say, probably in the past 2-3 days. So we're really starting to see the transformation of it. I know the kids are excited. We're excited as coaches. The community is excited. I think this is a big thing. I think that for a smaller school, we have one of the, the better small school stadiums. And then with our fans, I don't think it gets any better than that. On a Friday night for our kids. So just the excitement of it and the excitement of it coming in. So it's just overall for everybody with the school. It's just a good time right now.
No, I think this has kind of been the topic of the offseason leading up into, the 7-on-7s and the scrimmages before we get the season started. Coach, does the season start too soon, and does it last too long?
Well,
I know it's not an easy question.
This is how I end up. You think about it, and I think I might be in a little bit different situation because we're in a smaller school. Even if they push back that date of May 5th that you could do those couple of days. Yeah, this is the first time that we did anything in May. We had 4 practices, I think, that we ended up using, but it was right. Baseball ended, track. We had some track athletes that made it to state from our football team. They did not participate in it. So it was something that, it's good because it's the excitement. We still don't get out till late. We're almost, June 10th or June 9th, I think was our last day of school. So when you say about, does it start too early? I think people get caught up, even coaches. I know I only go, we didn't get out to the 10th. I try to give the kids a week off just because we have so many kids that participate in other sports. I would probably say about 60-70% of our football players are dual, if not, 3-sport athletes. So I think they do need time off. We only go 3 days a week from, June 15th, I think it was, till after the 4th. So I don't try to put a lot of pressure on them. We lift and we run. People are going to 7-on-7s, before June. I had one 7-on-7 so far, and it was last Thursday. So I just feel like the coaches sometimes get caught up in, oh my gosh, they're allowing us to do something, so we have to do it. Well, I don't get caught up. My schedule has been the same, I think, for my summer schedule for the past maybe 12 years. So I don't adjust other than those couple of days that we did. But kids need time off. Kids need to be kids. I know when our kids play basketball, they did summer stuff. So I try not to kids get worn out too. I try not to get them, too much football early because hopefully we're going to make a playoff run, or at least that's our game plan. So I don't want our kids practicing 25 weeks for high school football.
Coach, you've got a returning quarterback back for you this year. When you just think about the upcoming season, is that, I don't know if comforting is the right word, but knowing you have experience at that spot, does it make you, I guess, more comfortable going into the year?
It does make you more comfortable. I know the more experience that you do end up having, I think is going to make everybody. And I going into last year when we graduated, a good class, and we talked about last year's seniors. My message was all summer is, hey, for the first, and we have a tough schedule with South Range, Brookfield, Geneva. Those three games are tough, which we have those same 3 games, but I go, guys, we don't have to be a state championship team, weeks 1 through 3. We got to be week 11. And I felt by the end of last season, we were playing good football. Now with this, there's a little bit more expectations because we got a lot of kids coming back. We probably have, I don't know, 12 kids on both sides of the ball that saw, playing experience or got in games. We probably got 8 or 9 returning starters on both sides of the football. So right now with that, including with Colton, coming back, you always feel better when you have experience because you feel like you can build on, what you had from last year. And you can move on. We can progress. We can maybe add a few more schemes, add a few more plays just to try to be a little bit more complex, you know what I mean, for people to end up defending us or for us, you know what I mean, be able to stop the run or pass or whatever it is. So, you mean with the kids that we have coming back, I feel very good. I feel like our kids are in a right spot. And I think through now, when you see this time where it's starting to become the grind of it, kids are about a month in, we're going 5 days a week now, where now hopefully your leadership and your experience from those kids are carrying the team right now, keeping the excitement up. You know what I mean, pushing through the workouts when it gets hard. And that's where I think is a positive from the experience or the kids coming back.
I think we've been doing this interview together a long time, Coach. You kind of got to my next question. Having an experienced quarterback and a lot of starters back on that side of the football, do you feel like you can expand or maybe open up the playbook a little more this year?
Well, you would hope to. And again, we can't get caught up in anything. You got to be able to run the football. That's one thing that has always been pushed. And if you want to win playoff games, you got to be able to run the football because it's going to get cold. You know what I mean, in playoff time. And with the guys that we have coming back, I think we have 4 offensive linemen coming back from last year. And that's a big bonus. I think we had 5 kids that actually played. So for us, it's going to be one in the trenches. So for us to be able to expand on it, that's something where you just got the learning curve from it, where kids are starting to understand coverages. Kids are starting to understand, you know what I mean? Wide receivers are understanding windows that they have to get into. We sat down and we watched, offensively the 7-on-7 today. And you're really starting to tweak the little things that can make a good team great. And I think that's where we're at right now. I do think we got a possibility of being, pretty good. But again, we're going to get challenged right now with South Range, Brookfield, and Geneva. So our kids just got to stay focused and make sure that, again, if we lose a game or two, it's not the end of the world. We just got to be able to make sure that we continue to get better. But with that, we're starting to add some things and do some things, hopefully, that are going to put some stress on some teams.
I guess we kind of talk about this every year, but in your opinion, do too many teams make the playoffs right now?
Well, again, with the OHSA, I don't agree with a lot of things they end up doing. You know what I mean? Like right now, even with doubles, I think 5 years ago they started putting time limits on how much you went live. Well, now it's like, okay, now you get your acclimation days before double start. You throw the kids their 1-day pads and they're allowed to hit. I feel like the safety part about what the OHSA has done to high school kids is really put, the high school athlete playing football. Not saying that, and I think the game is coached better. I don't think we're seeing as many concussions as we used to. So I think on that part it's safe. But I think right now you still got to look at the some of our kids we have on our team are 15, 16, 17 years old. These kids are young, and I think they're putting a lot of pressure on these kids where, you make it to the playoffs, you might be playing 16, 15 weeks. So that's something where I think it's they don't look about the safety of the kids, which I think that's where, again, experience from being in those situations where you can kind of learn and you can kind of tweak yourself throughout the year. But I think for us, we use it to our advantage. We scheduled up, I think, in our first 3 games because I want to see how good we can be. I want to see how good we are early to see if we're tested. And I think that'll be in our advantage because 16 teams make it. So last year we went 0-4, we ripped off the last 6. We're 6-4 and we get a home game at number 8. So it depends on how you do. I'm not really worried about wins right now. I want to worry about how many playoff games we can win.
And when you look at that as a whole, say, 2 7-on-7s, a couple of scrimmages, and if you're lucky enough to make it to Canton the first week of December, 16 games. How do you keep everybody healthy for that long?
Well, again, there's some things you can do. And just I was lucky in the experience that we had for the runs that we had the past couple of years. It's good when you have depth and you don't have to beat up the kids. And again, I think people put too much stress on, okay, let's go 10-0. Realistically, I think we could probably go 4-6, maybe even 3-7 and still make the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying that's our goal, but you just got to be able to make sure you save kids and you don't try to wear them out. And again, when you got guys that have been practicing since May 15, that's long if you're playing into December. So that's why I kind of try to ease back a little bit in the summer, try to let the kids enjoy themselves and be kids. But it's a long season right now. And again, for us, we have kids that are, like I said before, we're 2-3 sport athletes. So I need those kids. I need those kids to play basketball. I need those kids to play baseball and run track. But you know what I mean? It's a lot of stuff that we put on high school kids. But I feel like, again, you can't stress too much, you know what I mean, about this is the only sport they should be playing. I mean, our kids buy in. We got great families, great kids that come to practice. Our attendance has been unbelievable this summer so far. So I'm really fortunate to be here at Springfield. But I just think overall, you can't put too much emphasis on going 10-0, and you got to be able to build depth throughout the season. It's hard to do that because you got to be able to trust kids. And I think at times coaches don't think, well, if we lose a game, we can't afford to do that. Listen, when they're taking 16 teams, you do. So you might be better off building a little bit of depth throughout the season. And then you really don't want to, you know what I mean, beat people up like you just said. We just got to be able to make sure that if you got kids that are playing 100 reps in a game, I mean, that's a lot of reps for a high school football kid to be able to take and to go, like you said, 15, 16 weeks. It's a long season. So you got to be able to make sure you're taking care of the body and making sure practice wise, you know, I mean, you take care of the kids. And that's something where I guess we kind of got into a routine where I feel pretty comfortable on what we're doing and hopefully we'll be in it for the long haul.
You mentioned a couple of times the schedule, and just like last year, Coach, you jump right into it. You face the defending state champions at home week 1. You got a powerhouse team in Brookfield that Coach Clark has built the last couple years in week 2. And, I mean, you're right into the thick of it as soon as we kick things off.
Well, and again, last year for us going into that, I mean, I knew there was a chance that we could be 0-3 or 0-4. And I told the kids that. But I thought the seniors last year did a really good group on just keeping our kids motivated and just making sure, you know what I mean, we kind of had our eye on the playoffs. And I mean, he said to him, we don't need to win a state championship at the beginning of the season. We got to be able to make a run at the end. And I felt like our seniors did a very good job on keeping those kids, engaged, staying positive. So for this year, you know what I mean, facing South Range week 1, obviously that's the goal right now. We take week by week. We know those first 3 weeks are going to be challenging for us, but if we want to make a run in the playoffs, we'll see where we're stacked up right now. And obviously South Range, the tradition that they have and coming off a state championship, it's always the kids in the school and the community will be off a high. So right now we're going to get challenged. Our kids, know right now that that's week 1 right now. And I also don't try to put too much emphasis on it because that's a big rivalry for us. Our kids look forward to that game, every year. And that's going to be something our kids are going to be able to run through a wall for because it is a big game. So we just can't put too much emphasis if we do end up losing it, that it's the end of the season. We got 9 more games to go. But our kids will be ready, and the excitement of the turf and kind of the new atmosphere that will end up happening. Our kids are excited for it. Our kids are working hard for it. So hopefully we're just going to represent our community and our school well, come week 1.
Coach, appreciate your time as always. Thank you very much. We are up against a break here in just a few seconds. We will come back and wrap it up and look forward to next week here on By All Means.
Golf in the Mahoning Valley starts at Mill Creek Golf Course. Mill Creek Golf Course is the host venue for the AJGA PGA Hope Program, 8 high school teams, and 2 collegiate teams. Mill Creek Golf Course is your Callaway certified golf club fitting facility. It was named the PGA of America's National Merchandiser of the Year for a public facility 2022. Book your tee time at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
To the radio play-by-play voice and our buddy back from here at Youngstown, it is the voice Fitz. Everett Fitzhugh, my friend, how are you?
Man, it feels good to hear your voice again, Mark. Everything's going well, and definitely excited to be back on the airwaves briefly for here in Youngstown.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
Want to know what I like best about high school sports? I love watching my son run on the field. I love the fact that since he's been playing high school sports, he's making better decisions. And I love knowing that with the proper equipment, education, conditioning, and coaching, high school sports here in Ohio are safer than ever before. And that's something I really love.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
This is Everett Fitzhugh, the radio voice of the NHL Seattle Kraken, and when I want to catch up with Youngstown sports, I tune in to Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
It is time to wrap up this week's edition of By All Means right here on Western Reserve Radio. Catch myself, Dave Clark, and Dave Ferris right here on Western Reserve Radio Saturday. Note the early start time. It's a 5 o'clock kickoff. So we'll be on the air with you for Cleveland Covers football, 4:45, 4:50, as they take on the 6-0 Cleveland Gladiators in the all-Cleveland battle. The Cobras come in 4-2. The Gladiators are 6-0. Again, myself, Dave Ferris, and Dave Clark. I feel like I'm out-Daved in this game, so hopefully I will not be in trouble with those guys. Thank you to all of our guests for today here on By All Means. Bob Lung, the Fantasy Football Expo in August from the 11th to the 13th in Canton at the Bubble. Just Google Fantasy Football Expo if you want to go and join us on Sunday. You just heard from Springfield head coach Sean Guerrero, all of the Springfield games right here on Western Reserve Radio again this year with Jim Craven and, of course, the coach Bob Gessler. Dave Clark joins me on Western Reserve Radio 2 and Sports Radio 1240 for those games. And, of course, Springfield back on AM 600 WRQX. We'll talk to you next week for another edition of By All Means. More high school football coaches coming as we approach the one month mark out from the start of the 2023 season. We'll talk to you next week, By All Means.
Mark Means, host of By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on Western Reserve Radio. The Guardians shut out the Pirates 11-0 in Pittsburgh Monday. Cleveland able to snap a 4-game skid. Josh Naylor, 3 RBI with a home run and a double. Naylor's 6th-inning RBI double extended his hitting streak to 8 games and gave Cleveland a 5-0 lead at the time. Andres Jimenez hit a 2-run homer. Cleveland pitched its 9th shutout, one shy of the major league high. Pirates starter Quinn Priester ripped for 7 runs on 7 hits over 5 1/3. The Guardians sit a game and a half out of first place in the American League Central. The Giants and Reds were suspended at 2 apiece. They'll pick up the game this afternoon with 1 out in the top of the 8th. The Giants have won 5 straight and 6 of 7. They'll start with runners on 2nd and 3rd. The Tigers put up 3 runs in the top of the 8th to rally past Kansas City 3-2 on Monday. For lightning fast updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of North America's most popular sports apps. That's the Sports Flash. Chuck Sanders, Western Reserve Radio.
Meet Joe A,
Hi.
Joe B,
Hello.
and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with autosave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect, support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
This radio commercial was made to convince you to stop speeding. We can't use siren sound effects on the radio, so we'll use other equally jarring sound effects to get your attention. Like telling you that whether you drive a little over the speed limit or a lot, you can crash just the same. You could hurt yourself, or worse, others.
I'm at the scene of the collision.
And the damage you cause will be beyond repair. See, we didn't have to use crash or siren sounds after all. Speeding catches up with you. Brought to you by NHTSA.
Mill Creek Golf Course is the Valley's leader for golfing fun with a practice range, short game area, and hole 55 bar and grill all on site. Mill Creek Golf Course features a friendly PGA professional staff available for instruction, along with 36 challenging holes designed by the legendary Donald Ross. Don't forget family fun night golf on Fridays and Saturdays for just $25. For details and tee times, call 330-740-7112 or go online to millcreekmetroparks.org.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take 1.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
What if I told you that a tornado was going to happen tomorrow, right where you live? that it would touch down at exactly 3:17 p.m., and I told you the exact path it would take, you would, of course, prepare. You would talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a tornado will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
That's where it all begins, with the rich sports history that we have in the Valley. We're going to talk national, we're going to talk regional, but it all begins here at home. So that is where a lot of those topics and conversations that we have with you every Tuesday are going to come from.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
This is Matt Lipsack, the voice of the Youngstown Phantoms, and your home for Phantoms hockey is Western Reserve Radio.
Him top 10, top 20. He's not winning it.
Are you giving top 20, look at you growing. I'm so proud.
Well, I'm just trying to talk to people off of thinking Rory's going back to back. It's not happening.
Okay. We will talk to Doug Ellen later on in the show, as we always do on Tuesdays. It is the 19-year anniversary of the debut of Entourage. Doug Ellen, of course, the creator of Entourage. He will join us, as he always does, on Tuesdays. We will talk a little Mountain West football with the favorite of the conference, BJ Rains, who covers Boise State, will join us in studio. He is here on the premises, and we'll also talk to Jonathan Von Tobel. Unfortunately for JVT, his summer league future of the Houston Rockets did not come home, as Imani Bates actually said, Cleveland, this is for you yesterday. I
mean, the kid's come a long way. I mean, he was, top 3 rated player coming out of high school, went to Memphis, complete bombed. Then he transferred somewhere.
Eastern Michigan.
Didn't he transfer again, or?
He's Eastern Michigan.
Okay, right. So, I mean, he went undrafted, or was he a second-round pick?
Second-round pick.
Right. So, I mean, he's feeling good. Like, he's feeling like, hey, I'm still that guy y'all thought coming out of high school. So let him have his little moment.
Congrats on winning the Summer League, Imani Bates. Congratulations.
Hey, man, it's baby stuff.
I'm sure you'll get a parade there.
You see the last time the Cavs played? I trusted them.
Yeah, I know.
You see how that worked out?
What'd I tell you not to do?
I should have trusted them this time.
Yeah.
Never go against Imani Bates, baby.
Yeah, that's probably a motto you don't want to live by.
Well, so far, so good.
Okay. I'll take everything against Imani Bates in the regular season.
Man, I don't even know if Imani Bates going to make the team.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking summer league.
Yeah, there you go. Let's relax. But let's get to this, Sean, as we head into it. Rookies reporting today. Falcons, Ravens, Bills, Chiefs. I saw Patrick Mahomes, by the way, arriving at camp today. Chargers, Dolphins, Saints, and Giants, Sean. Ooh, buddy, it is around the corner, and one of the teams that is not reported yet is the Patriots. And how about this from Tommy Curran over at, I believe he's from, I want to give him the wrong publication. I think it's I thought it was WEEI.
I know it used to be NBC.
Yeah, so Tommy Curran, though.
That was my guy.
Said this on the Rich Eisen show today. He is, from NBC Sports Boston. Bill Belichick is indeed on the hot seat heading into 2023. He's on the hot seat, and he's been there at different levels of warmth since 2019. Sean, win total for the Patriots is 7.5. They missed the playoffs last year. They had a losing record last year. Bill Belichick, by the way, is 71 years old. Can you even imagine the New England Patriots firing? There could be an agreement that says, hey, Bill, it's over, but we're not going to fire you. But could you envision a moment that Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, gets fired?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not the win-loss record the last couple of years, Tim. It's the outside the box, completely abstract, decisions. You draft Mac Jones in the first round, but then you bring in Cam Newton as a free agent. You lose Josh McDaniels to be the head coach of the Raiders, and you make a all-time lifelong defensive coach the offensive coordinator, and the special teams coach, the quarterback coach. It's those kind of moves that I think have created the warmth. Because if you take away, that idiocracy, which in hindsight it definitely was.
Moronic,
they went to the playoffs 2 years ago and were, borderline 500 team last year. So it's not like they fell all the way off the cliff. But, Bill has done some strange things post Tom Brady.
So when you look at the quarterback situation, where you were high on Mac Jones?
Yeah, I think Mac Jones is a serviceable guy. I put him right there. If he gets to the right spot, they put the right personnel around him, he's going to be a guy that's fine in the regular season. Probably not going to be able to get you over the hump in the playoffs, but it's not a whole lot of those guys in the league anyway. So
when you look at what the Patriots have, Mac Jones at quarterback, Hunter Henry at tight end, the wide receivers of Juju Smith-Schuster, Devontae Parker, Kendrick Bourne. They drafted a couple guys in the 6th round, including Kayshon Boutte out of LSU.
Yeah, he's going to get cut.
I also like what they did, in the first couple rounds. They got Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. They traded back and still were able to grab Christian Gonzalez. Keon White, the kid out of Georgia Tech, they got him in the 2nd round. So I actually liked what they did defensively. But bring it back to the offense, I 100% agree. What they did last year was moronic and also detrimental potentially to Mac Jones. Now you actually bring in an offensive coordinator and Bill O'Brien. How much better does this offense look with a guy that actually has called plays in his career?
Well, it's going to be more sound, but the win total to me is exactly right. Because I have them somewhere between 6 and 8 wins, and I can't definitively land on a number because of the uncertainty in the division. If you told me Tua was going to stay healthy the entire year, so both times they play Miami, it's with Tua at quarterback, and I'm telling you New England's probably under 7.5. But what if they get Miami both times with Tua dinged up and out with a concussion? What if the Jets can't find a running game because it sounds like Breece Hall is not going to be ready to start the season, and Michael Carter is not enough by himself, and they kind of take a while? Like, there's some unknowns in that division that make it hard.
That's Sean King. I'm Tim Murray, taking a look at the latest in...
This week, the professional Valorant scene might have caught a glimpse of a future world champion. The Valorant Champions Tour Masters just took place in Tokyo, and Fnatic proved that no team is on their level. On their way to the championship, Fnatic toppled NRG, Paper Rex, and Evil Geniuses, who are all considered to be top-tier teams. As Fnatic made their near-flawless tour, they only dropped one single match. Will anyone be able to beat them?
The latest esports and gaming news. Find it online at checkpointxp.com.
This could be the start of a break-in.
Stop. This is Simply Safe.
Or the end of one.
Police are on their way.
Introducing the latest innovation in home security. 24/7 LiveGuard protection, only from Simply Safe. Now, agents can see and speak to intruders through our new indoor camera to help stop crime in real time and for fast police response. Get 20% off any new system with Fast Protect monitoring at simplysafe.com/radio. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
And paid for by OpenJar Concepts. Attention firefighters, members of the military, and airport workers. For decades, first responders and firefighters at military bases and airports used a chemical-based foam to fight fires. Studies have shown that chemicals used to make aqueous film-forming foam, or AFFF, are highly toxic to humans and have been associated with several types of cancer. If you or someone you know was exposed to AFFF and were diagnosed with any of these cancers, including kidney, bladder, prostate, pancreatic, lymphoma, leukemia, testicular, and neuroendocrine, then you should call us immediately because you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Call us at 800-515-8809. Our experienced attorneys will fight to get you the compensation you deserve, and you pay nothing unless we get a recovery in your favor. Time is limited to file a claim, so call us now, 800-515-8809. Operators are standing by 24/7, so don't wait. 800-515-8809. That's 800-515-8809. Again, 800-515-8809.
First Name Sports with Greg Frank. Victor Wembanyama says that the NBA is less physical than European basketball. You played 2 summer league games. Victor Wembanyama's kind of calling everybody in the NBA soft. There was already going to be a target on this guy's back. Now I'm sure the first time the Spurs play the Warriors, Draymond's going to remind him, you're in the NBA, brother, and we're not all pansies.
First Name Sports, weekday afternoons from 2 to 4 Eastern.
Wake up call.
even as a young man, I would always go, how do you not know that this issue is coming? It's one of the most famous things in America is the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. Did you think we were going to forget about it one year?
Back like in the 90s, 80s,
God, yeah.
you had that circled on your calendar.
Mid-February.
You knew exactly what was coming out.
My favorite was Kathy Ireland. She was my favorite swimsuit.
Nah, that's a good call.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 9 to noon Eastern.
This is Prime Time with Tim Murray and Sean King on the Sports Map Radio Network.
This is VSiN Prime Time with Tim Murray and Sean King on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Become a VSiN Pro subscriber today and get a daily email recap. All the best bets from our show hosts and guests. You'll get unlimited access to our vsin.com/picks page, sort picks by sport, matchup, event date, and more. Check the top VSiN experts leaderboard to view betting records, profit, and ROI, and see which VSiN expert has the hot hand for VSiN Pro picks, betting splits, power ratings, plus 24/7 video access. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber today. Sign up now for just $19. Head on over to vsin.com/subscribe. Alongside Sean King, I am Tim Murray. It is VSiN Prime Time. We are going to catch up with Pete Futak here from collegefootballnews.com momentarily. By the way, you were just looking at it. Our guy Brad Powers, he does a weekly, or excuse me, not a weekly, a yearly road trip. I don't know. I think he flew back home. He's from Ohio. And he started in Ohio, and he's worked his way down the East Coast.
Dude, unless he has a helicopter, these timestamps aren't matching up.
Well, maybe
he's at Liberty 11 hours ago. Then he's at Virginia Tech 8 hours ago. Then he's at App State like 7 hours ago. Like, he's got to have a helicopter or something.
I don't think Brad's got a helicopter, but I will say, as I look through these, because I've either gone to these stadiums or been by them. You can get from James Madison to Virginia Tech in a very short amount of time. But I would think maybe he just does the videos. But the cool thing about this that I love about Brad is he goes into the stadium and then watch the video. He actually gives you a little preview of each team. So he's not just there, snapping picks. He's giving you some thoughts because, that's the type of guy that he is.
Give Brad a wife or a dog or something.
Man. This is what he loves. So he went Akron, Kent State, Pittsburgh, West Virginia, James Madison, Liberty, now in the CUSA, Virginia Tech, App State. So he's making his way.
Virginia, Wake Forest, UNC, Duke, all in a day and a half.
Good for him. Do your thing, Brad. Don't listen to Sean. You do you.
I'm not knocking it.
You only get one life, baby. YOLO. Go. If this is what you want to do, go visit all those schools. I've been to Keenan down there at UNC and Wallace Wade at Duke. All right, let's bring in Pete Futak, who joins us right now. And you can follow Pete on Twitter at Pete, FIUTAK. And he's got his previews up all over the place, collegefootballnews.com. Well, since we're talking about it, looking at the ACC, Florida State and Clemson, how big of let's just start with those two. Do you have an edge one way or the other, which team you like a little bit more as we head into 2023?
What's going on? Yes, Clemson. They're better. Like, I get the Florida State thing. I get that everyone's all excited because it's Florida State and they close strong and everyone wants Florida State to be good. They're going to start 1-2. I mean, because they're going to lose to LSU right out of the gate. They'll beat Southern Mississippi. Actually, they'll beat Boston College. And then they'll lose at Clemson. They're going to start 2-2, and then everyone's going to jump off the wagon. And then watch out, the way the schedules are going to play out, watch out for that trip to Pittsburgh in November. I think the winner of that ends up playing Clemson for the ACC title. So Clemson's very good. They're not the Clemson of the past several years because they just don't do the transfer portal, and that's been a problem for them. But Florida State's good. I just think Clemson's just more talented.
That's interesting because, as you mentioned, as everything around them has evolved, Dabo hasn't pivoted. He's dug down deeper, like even from the way that they handle visits. Like they only do one visit weekend. They have not gotten the top guys like they have the last, at the early part of this decade. Their depth, it's definitely, they're a lot less deep than they used to be. It's interesting, Pete. And they have, I think it comes down to me, which quarterback is going to show up? Is it the guy that we thought should have replaced DJ the entire year, or is it the young man who looked a little overwhelmed and maybe overhyped in the bowl game?
Oh, don't think I didn't notice that you just completely wussed out on Uiagalelei. That you just.
Oh yeah, I gave up 2 years ago trying to say his last name.
That's fine. Actually, I can't do Tungavailoa if it's not true. I can't do Talia for whatever reason. But
I just say little Tua.
Exactly. That actually makes it easier. But you're right. So the thing about though Clemson is they seemed like they used to get a lot of big recruits, but they actually didn't. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was a monster recruit. He was a one-of-one and used to get some good recruits, but all those monster defensive linemen, they didn't get like a bunch of 5-stars. They always got like the 3.5 to 4 stars that turned into the guys who ended up going to the NFL. But you're right. So the problem now is in a transfer portal era where I get the pitch, and there's something to that being able to say, hey, look, we're going to grow our program. We don't want you to always have to look over your shoulder. We don't want you to have to worry about, hey, if you're number 2 on the depth chart, that means you're done, any of that. So I get where that's coming from. The problem, though, is last year, Clemson could have really used a reliable deep threat. And if they had one reliable deep threat and one extra pretty decent cover corner, they're playing in the college football playoff. I mean, it gets kind of lost. They are one collapse against South Carolina away from pretty much knocking out maybe Ohio State from the mix in the college football playoff. So they're not that far off, but they are far off from actually winning the national championship again.
Pete Futak joining us, collegefootballnews.com. Follow him on Twitter at Pete, FIUTAK. Speaking of FIU, no, I'm just kidding.
Go under on the win total.
Come on, you got to believe in Mike McIntyre. No, we are not going to talk FIU in hour 1 of our program, but we did get a little betting advice there.
Money's good there. Money is good on few, just as like it's good on Alabama.
Well, let's do that. How about that? I think I won't get yelled at from my boss if we talk Alabama. I think that's fair game. So you look at Alabama, Pete, and we were talking about this a little bit last night, and initially, my initial inclination was, oh, man, you got to fade this Alabama team for Alabama's sake. I'm not saying, they're going to lose to South Florida in week 3, but now I'm kind of getting to this point of, man, are we just talking too much crap about Alabama and giving LSU all this love that they're definitely going to repeat as SEC West champs? So 10.5, depending on where you look, you can, I think, get a little bit of plus money on them to win the SEC West. How do you look at Alabama this year when it feels like Nick Saban's probably sitting back and, doing his fingers like Mr. Burns and saying, oh, yeah, keep doubting us?
Well, the problem with Alabama is, they don't seem to get it, where for years and years and years, Alabama was, rolling them through. And, if you're 10-2 in the SEC, you might as well be 4-8. It doesn't matter. Okay, 10-2 means you're going to a bowl game. Who cares? You're not going to the college football playoff, at least until next year when it expands. So, and so you had Saban in the offseason being like, well, we were one of the 4 best teams at the end of the year, at least the odds makers. But really, though, I mean, we know what happens when you get this team into the playoff. And they did lose on 2 walk-offs at LSU and at Tennessee. But it kind of gets forgotten. They should have lost to Texas. They should have lost. They came really close to Texas A&M, and they just weren't the same team that we've known them to be for years and years and years. And now you look at this year's team, and what's the one big difference? Look at the lineage of quarterbacks that they have had since Jacob Coker won a national championship for them several years ago. They wrote Jalen Hurts, Tua, Mac Jones, Bryce Young, and now what? That's a pretty strong group of quarterbacks. And now they're not quite sure what they've got, but they don't have one of those 4. So that seems to be the kind of concern. And when you're looking at a schedule where, yeah, they're not going to lose to Middle Tennessee, even though they're probably going to turn the ball over 12 times against that defense, Texas is a little more of a 50-50-ish game. Ole Miss is a dangerous type of game for them. I mean, at Texas A&M's dangerous. LSU's dangerous. At Auburn's going to be. I mean, it's the SEC. So there's just enough of those games that could go the wrong way where all you got to lose is 2, and that includes the SEC championship, and you're not in the college football playoff. Long-winded way of saying 10.5. Yeah, you kind of can't. I'm not a fan of going over on that. If you're getting 10, you go over because it's Alabama, because they're not going to go under 10. But I think that's a 10-2 team for Alabama.
Yeah, here's interesting. The stretch from October 7th to November 4th, if they don't have the quarterback position fixed, A&M should be better with Petrino calling the plays instead of Jimbo.
Yep.
You get the best 3 returning quarterbacks in the SEC, and K.J. Jefferson, Joe Milton, and Jaden Daniels 3 weeks in a row. Even though you get
Devin Leary, and look at who's after that. Devin Leary, the NC State, he might be the best quarterback in the league. The NC State transfer is now at Kentucky, and that's right after that.
So, like, if that's my thing. If they can't get quarterback fixed, and even if they do, man, their receiver core last year was subpar.
Yep.
Are they back to, the elite first-round talent at receiver? It's going to be fascinating to watch. I'm not betting against Nick, but I'm also not supporting over 10.5 either.
Well, also think about how that played out last year.
Hey, Pete, can you hang with us? We got a break here. Can you hang with us?
Absolutely.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay. Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
This radio commercial was made to convince you to stop speeding. We can't use siren sound effects on the radio, so we'll use other equally jarring sound effects to get your attention. Like telling you that whether you drive a little over the speed limit or a lot, you can crash just the same. You could hurt yourself, or worse, others.
I'm at the scene of the collision.
And the damage you cause will be beyond repair. See? We didn't have to use crash or siren sounds after all. Speeding catches up with you. Brought to you by NHTSA.
Wake up call! Of all the classes I took, the best class I took in high school, of all of them. I mean, I took wood shop, I took metal shop, I had to do home ec, where I learned to cook. The best class I ever took was typing, because I knew I wanted to be a journalist, so I took typing. And you know what? No one takes typing anymore. You know how many Hunt and Peckers I see in press boxes? Still to this day?
See, but here's the thing, right? I mean, I don't even know if that class is offered in high school anymore. Of course, they text, especially my oldest, since he's at that age where he's, manipulating a phone very quickly. Can't believe how fast he texts.
Now, that is a skill I do not have. Now, that's a skill
I don't have. He holds the phone in both hands, and he's using just thumbs. He's all two thumbs. He's like...
If you get my daughter and me, and we have a texting words per minute contest, I'm losing by a mile. Yep. She is Jesse Owens, and I am Sluggo.
Wake Up Call with Tony V and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 9 to noon Eastern.
First Name Sports with Greg Frank.
Nate Kreckman from Altitude Sports Radio. Well, I guess let's end with this. Was sitting courtside last night the closest Russell Wilson will get to a championship in Denver?
You know the answer to that question before you even asked it. Get out of here.
Well, hey, listen, we had to do something to rain on your parade. I did know the answer to that question. But anytime we can make fun of Russell Wilson, we do it.
First Name Sports, weekday afternoons from 2 to 4 Eastern.
Wake up call! So the NBA is trying to get rid of flopping. Yeah, good luck with this.
Yeah, soccer's been trying to do it for years.
Here's the way it works, kids. If a flopping penalty is assessed by a game official, the opposing team will be awarded 1 free throw attempt. So if, I don't know, let me just think of a random NBA player. It has nothing to do with flopping, but just a random NBA player. Like, I don't know, LeBron James.
He never flops, Tony.
Right? I'll just mention LeBron James in this category. There's no correlation to flopping, but let's just say LeBron James flops. I know it would be inconceivable that he would do that. LeBron James flops against the Dallas Mavericks, right?
No, he doesn't flop.
He doesn't flop.
He flops.
Let's just say they call it on him, even though he wasn't even close to flopping.
Terrible call, ref.
Terrible call, right?
Wake Up Call with Tony V and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 9 to noon Eastern.
Imagine learning about radio and being mentored by true radio professionals in real radio stations. Well, actually, you don't have to imagine, because there's Radio Connection. Radio Connection gives you the opportunity to learn one-on-one and be mentored by radio pros. Plus, you don't have to worry about getting into a crazy amount of debt with school tuition either. Radio Connection keeps their tuition at much lower costs. To find out more info, visit radioconnection.com. You're listening to Primetime with Tim Murray and Sean King on the SportsMap Radio Network.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Sean King on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Before you make your next bet, be sure to visit vsin.com to check out the current betting splits data. Want to know where the money and bets are moving every game? The betting splits page is updated with DraftKings odds every 10 minutes so you can see changes in all the action. Find out where the public is betting based on the number of tickets and where the money doesn't match the public opinion. You can check out not just today's action, but future events as well. Betting splits are another way. VSiN is here to make you a smarter, better year-round. Check out today's betting splits for every game at vsin.com. It is VSiN Primetime alongside Sean King. I am Tim Murray, kind enough to hang out through the break and for another segment, Pete Futak from collegefootballnews.com. Make sure to check out all his work there to preview season. They're coming out of plenty. Sean, I'll let you regain the floor here. I know we were talking a little Alabama, so we were abruptly cut off by those hard outs. So why don't we revisit what we were chatting about?
I guess the thing is, I'm going to stay away from this because I don't know enough about the competition. What is Mississippi State after Mike Leach passed away? You know, where is the Ole Miss program? I don't know if Jimbo's going to really let Bobby Petrino call the plays. Is KJ Jefferson enough? They've lost so much on defense at Arkansas. I just feel like there's a stretch there where if Milroe, Buckner, if any of those guys can actually play, Alabama can defense their way through it. But there's also, you know, if those teams are if Joe Milton is as good as we saw in the bowl game versus, what was it, Clemson? Mm-hmm. I mean, Tennessee to me is great value at 14-1 because if he plays like that, they got a shot every week.
It depends on what you're going for, and if you're going for win totals, everyone seems to have it at 10.5, which I would stay away. If it's at 10, it's Alabama. So if it doesn't get to 11, if it doesn't win 10 games and you bet the over and you don't have these push, you just say, okay, fine, tip your cap. It was a bad day. But 10.5 shaky because all those teams, like you said, none of them are better than Bama. I mean, they don't play Georgia in the regular season, so it's not a horrendous schedule. But you wouldn't be shocked if they lost to Texas. You wouldn't be shocked if they lost to LSU. And we saw last year, all it takes is 2, and all those other guys are on NIL money too. So it's a different world right now, and this might not be the killer Alabama of the past few years. So if you're talking about winning the conference, that's hard because Georgia's at another level. If you're talking about the win total, if you can get it at 10, go over just because it's Bama. If it's 10.5, then stay away.
Yeah, they haven't had 9 wins in the regular season since 2010. Pete Futak joining us. Pete, let's go to Texas A&M because, this is a team that has recruited well, but last year was an absolute, utter disaster when you lose to App State, a team that, gave up like 60-plus the week before, and you muster 14 points, including a kickoff return. So when you look at Texas A&M, win total sitting at 8, during the COVID season, they had, they finished 4th or 5th in the nation. But outside of that, really has been a mixed bag of results. So what are you expecting from Texas A&M as we, look at the schedule? You've got Alabama, you've got Tennessee, we've got LSU to close out the year. Road trip to Miami there on I think that's an afternoon game in Miami. So that'll be hot as hell down there in Miami. So what are you expecting from Gig'em this year?
Yeah, they better be better. I mean, and actually, after all you just said, they're one play away from beating Bama at Bama. Yep. So, they have the guys. They have the problem is they got all these 5-star recruits. Too many of them either transferred or didn't work out or just were ready for the NFL already, or for whatever reason it just didn't happen. And again, they got to hope that they finally have some offensive firepower, because the thing about Texas A&M is their lines have always been good. They've just been missing the superstar skill talent, at least since the Johnny Manziel era where they were able to fire it all over the field. And the slow and go tempo under Jimbo Fisher just didn't work. Even in 2020, when they probably should have been in the college football playoff, they won games by just dominating the time possession battle. So now let's see what they can do if they open it up a little bit more under Petrino as offensive coordinator. But like you said, if you're Texas A&M, you're setting the bar at 7.5 wins or so. It's Texas A&M. They're supposed to be doing what Tennessee's doing. They're supposed to be doing what LSU's doing. And for whatever reason, it just has not kicked in for them. I think it does. I think they go over the 7.5. I think they split a bunch of these games. I think they could pull off a win over Alabama. I think they could pull off a win over LSU, but they're not going to win all of them. So 8 is about where you should set the bar with this team. At least that's where the team should be at.
Interesting, because low-key under the radar, because they struggled mightily throughout most of the year, Connor Wigman, the freshman, came in and actually played pretty good. I want to say through 8 touchdowns and no picks to end the season. So the ultimate question for me is, what are you hearing about who's going to actually call the plays? Is Jimbo really going to pass that duty to Petrino?
How about let's put it this way. If he doesn't, at least you have a brilliant offensive mind in the room in Petrino where his head coaching duties over the last several shots have not been great, but as an offensive coordinator, he's still fantastic. So at the very least, if it's not Jimbo calling the plays, Petrino is going to upgrade that offense, and they're going to at least come up with a little more tempo and a little more. They're not going to be worse than last year.
Pete Futak joining us. All right, let's stay in the Lone Star State, because, Pete, I'm either going to feel like a genius or I'm going to feel like I'm the dumbest dummy-dumb ever, because this team always has the hype and always seems to underperform. And that, of course, would be Hook'em, Texas. And we were talking a little bit off the air. I played them to win the conference at plus 120. It's still plus money, pretty much everywhere, plus 110 or so. If Steve Sarkisian doesn't win the conference with this team based off of what this conference is, and I'm not saying that Oklahoma's a bunch of scrubs, or I think Texas Tech actually, might be on the up and up there with Joey McGuire, but this team is loaded with talent. Their lines are solid. You've got a really good quarterback. You've got good wide receivers. I mean, they have everything to win this conference and, throw up deuces and go to the SEC. So where are you on Texas, and do you think ultimately they do win this conference for the first time in 14 years?
First of all, look at VEASAN allowing you to go potty mouth with dummy, dumb. Wow.
We're edgy here, Pete. We live on the edge,
Wow. Get the dump button ready on you on this one. But look, as my line keeps going, this is an 11-win team and a 9-win body. I mean, the talent is there. They should beat everything. They're going to lose to Alabama. Other than that, they're going to be favored against everyone else. This is not the TCU of past few years. It was last year. They go on the road to deal with them later. But every game in the Big 12 this year is dangerous. I mean, they're going to win at home against Kansas, but would you be shocked if Jalen Daniels went off and they turned into a 58-55 game of some sort? That could happen. Going to Houston's probably last in the Big 12 this year, but that's a dangerous enough team where on the right day it could be a problem. So the schedule works out where they should get to the Big 12 championship game. And if that's what you're looking for, the argument for Texas is there's Texas and there's everyone else just a notch below. So you kind of have to make a case for the rest of the teams in the conference. Texas is one of those teams that you can at least say, yeah, they're going to at least get to the Big 12 championship.
Deion have gotten so much attention, probably the amount of turnover. But if we're being honest, the team that was in the national title game is going to look drastically different as well. Talk to me through TCU, all the roster turnover, what they left, what's returning, what's incoming. How close are they to last year's Cinderella team?
Not. It took so many late wins. I mean, that was a truly magical season in every possible way, including catching the break of, as we alluded to before, of Clemson not getting to the ACC championship game and going 12-1, catching the break of Alabama not rolling through so that they could lose the Big 12 championship game and still getting in. They won a bunch of close games tight, and they caught the mega break of Michigan not getting off the bus until the third quarter. So everything went kind of right. It's still a very good team. They're probably going to be a little bit overloved because I don't think people are going to think that they fell off that much of the map. And the nice part about this is with all the turnovers, if you look at their schedule, Colorado, Nicholls, at Houston, SMU, West Virginia. That's a pretty good September to get everything back up and running. So they're going to be very good. I like them to win at least 8 games or so. They're going to be set around 7.5-ish, so I would go over on that. But again, the Big 12 this year, every game's a 50-50 game pretty much. So TCU's going to be good. They just don't have the same pop as last year.
Pete, we appreciate you hanging out
Great
with
stuff,
2 segments,
Pete. Thanks,
and we'll talk to you soon.
Anytime, guys. Have a good one.
There he is, Pete Futak, collegefootballnews.com. Some good stuff there. That's Sean King.
This college season
I'm Tim Murray.
Fascinating.
I agree. By the way, Mr. King, it didn't happen last night. It just finished.
Martha Stewart for Skechers. When I make a dish or embark on a craft project, I always use the finest, most fabulous ingredients and materials. Which is why, when it comes to footwear, I love Skechers. Because Skechers is the comfort technology company and uses the most luxurious, innovative materials and designs to make wondrously comfortable footwear with all the fits and features like Arch Fit and Skechers' world-famous air-cooled memory foam. It's exactly the way I'd make shoes.
Find Skechers at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Here's a message just for the attorneys out there. So you passed a bar, joined a firm, or even built your own. Now are you finding out that you're doing more administration than actual law practice? Lexicon can help. Lexicon is a legal technology provider with over a decade of experience streamlining administrative tasks like timekeeping, billing, and more, so you can focus on maximizing billable hours and increasing client satisfaction. Call 855-4-LEXICON or visit lexiconservices.com/go to learn more.
First Name Sports with Greg Frank.
We bring on the storied manager now, Jim Leland. You look at some of the exciting players, Ronald Acuna Jr., now Ellie De La Cruz with what he's been doing with the Reds. There are a lot of exciting players, and I feel like some of these rule changes, we're seeing more balls in play. The stolen base is back. The game is overall a faster game. I think the game's in a pretty good spot. What do you think?
I agree with you 100%. I don't think there's any question about it. We have some great young superstars coming up. Young people like stars, young people like action. The commissioner's created action with the pitch clock and a couple other rule changes. I think he's done a great job, and I think it's good for the game. Young people want action. They don't want to sit there and be bored, and that's what we got to do to attract our young fan and to keep our young fans coming out to the game and keeping the interest in the game, because a few years back, we weren't getting the young fan out. The young kids were doing other stuff, and now I think we're starting to bring them back a little bit.
First Name Sports, weekday afternoons from 2 to 4 Eastern.
The diehards.
What's the deal with the beware of moose signs every 5 miles? I didn't see a moose.
The moose moved out long ago. They're like, this place is freezing cold. I don't like it.
There's no moose in Maine. It's a hyperbole. It's an exaggeration. There's no moose.
When I saw those bumper stickers, I thought it was a joke. Like, beware of moose. Like, imagine that. Imagine if you saw an animal living outside in this Arctic tundra. I thought it should be like, beware of penguins.
The Diehards, weeknights from 8 to 10 Eastern on the Sports Map Radio Network.
The diehards.
I'm a monkey running around. It's tough. They can't control me. You know what I mean? I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot as it is, so it's hard enough to control anyway.
When I'm waiting to come on as a guest, I can hear you.
You can hear everything. We're doing everything. We're talking this. We're talking that. We're putting bets in. We're doing shots. No, we're not doing shots. We do shots after the show. But no, it's hard. It's being a producer in radio is really hard, and I'm being very serious. I've been doing this a long time. I've had some brilliant producers. I've had some tough ones that it's hard. It's a hard job. And managing idiots like me that sometimes it's out of your control. And it sucks, too, because they don't get paid that much. they need to be paid more. I wish we should start a producer, GoFundMe for producers. But some of them. but some of them are really good dropping sound effects.
The Diehards, weeknights from 8 to 10 Eastern on the Sports Map Radio Network.
Wake up call. We said when Mac Jones was drafted, we said, well, this is actually pretty good. He's not the guy that follows the guy. I remember being in Denver when Brian Greasy had to replace John Elway. Good Lord, that kid could have built 1,700 orphanages in the city of Denver. And not one person would have given him credit for it. Nobody wants to be the guy that follows the guy. It stinks.
Wake up call with Tony B and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 9 to noon Eastern.
Prime Time with Tim Murray and Sean King continues now on the Sports Map Radio Network.
With Tim Murray and Sean King on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
The NFL betting guide is out, folks, and our college football guide is coming in just a couple weeks. Just previewing UConn and UMass today. Yeah, that'll be the post-show podcast.
Standing room only.
Yeah, if you want that. Only VSiN Pro subscribers get all the tools to prep for the college and NFL seasons. Our experts provide profiles of every team with advanced stats and power ratings, plus best bets on futures and season win totals. Sign up before the end of July and receive both guides and full VSiN Pro access all the way through the Super Bowl at an early bird discount of $175. Or you can sign up on a monthly subscription and get the first 30 days for only $19. See everything VSiN has to up your betting game. This offer ends July 31st, so don't miss out on these preseason deals. Sign up at VSiN.com to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today. Alongside Sean King, I am Tim Murray. Yesterday, Sean, his best bet was Giants over his beloved Reds. Mm-hmm. And the game was suspended due to rain. It was 2-2 when the game was suspended yesterday. They have come back out. They have finished the game up, and the Giants got the victory. So a win for Mr. King.
1-0 on the week.
4-2, the final score. The San Francisco Giants take care of the Cincinnati Reds. Ellie De La Cruz picked off in the 9th inning.
My objective is not to lose another official play.
When do you ever try to lose bets?
No, but that's like, I'm about to go on a run.
Okay.
Epic.
You've said this a lot.
Well, see, that's the thing about an athlete. Like, you just keep working, you keep improving, you keep trying to become an even better version of yourself, and then you line back up and you have full confidence that you're going to win.
So with that confidence, that renewed confidence, maybe you could take your winnings, go to the liquor store.
I owe you 5 more bottles. I've given you 13. You made that crystal clear yesterday. Actually, in my haste to get it done, I think I paid like an extra, $7, $8 extra per bottle.
In your haste.
The other day. It's just that I always forget. I don't ever think about it till I'm 115.
The thing ended at the end of April.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna get you those because I'm tired of you bringing it up. You brought it up yesterday.
It's July.
I'll get it done tomorrow.
Good God. Just go to the grocery store. It's not exotic wine.
Okay, Tim.
The Giants get the win, so good start to anything tonight for you,
nope.
Mr. King? All right. Well, so you can go undefeated. If you just go 1-0, it's an undefeated week.
I just didn't love anything tonight. So
hey, you don't want to force plays that you don't love. Jonathan Von Tobel is going to join us top of the hour. The Summer League has all wrapped up, and we have had a champion. The Cleveland Cavaliers were the champs. Cam Whitmore, your Summer League MVP. And now we'll see if we have any more movement. Does James Harden ultimately get moved? Does Damian Lillard finally get moved? We will see what this offseason potentially could bring. We were going to play this yesterday, and we were talking a lot about the running back situation around the league, so we didn't get to it. But I want to revisit something because I'm curious to get your thoughts of what Joel Embiid had to say. So I don't know what the forum was where Embiid was talking, but Joel Embiid was just looked like some sort of, forum, and he was on stage getting interviewed, and this was what he had to say about the possibility of winning a championship.
Yeah, great, but what can we look forward from Joel Embiid? I just want to win a championship.
whatever it takes. I don't know where that's going to be, whether it's in Philly or, anywhere else. I just want to have a chance to accomplish that. I want to see what it feels like to win that first one and then think about, the next one. It's not easy, but, it takes more than, 1, 2, 3 hours. Gotta have, good people around you. And, like myself, every single day I work hard to, be at that level so I can produce and make it happen. So
I just want to win a championship, whether that's in Philly or somewhere else. As you know, Sean, Philadelphia fans on all sports are very calm. They don't overreact about anything. I'm sure they're taking this in stride. Do you make much out of this? Is this a warning signal to the franchise? Hey, you better figure this thing out, this James Harden situation. I mean, by the way, his contract just kicked in, so he is under contract for 3 more years, a player option in 26-27. This year's Sixers team, on paper was probably the second best team since the 2019 team that lost to Kawhi Leonard on the triple bounce. So what did you make of what Joel Embiid?
See, this is why they need to let me moderate these kind of things. They just need to call me. Because they don't ask the truthful questions. Like, they let guys get away with the ridiculous answer that Joel Embiid gave when the follow-up should have been, well, Joel, you want to win a championship. You guys had 2 chances to close out the Celtics. In the deciding Game 7, a game in which you guys lost 112-88, you had 15 points and 8 rebounds. You shot 5 of 18 from the field and 0 of 4 from 3. Kind of hard to, win a championship.
He's your MVP.
When you're MVP of the league and your best player on your team, that's his performance in Game 7. It's hard to win when the best player plays like that. 5 of 18 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3, 15 points, 8 rebounds, and a Game 7 loss to the Boston Celtics, 112-88. Just saying. I can understand it if he went for 30 and 20 and they lost. And he balled. He had 15 points, 8 rebounds, in 4 full quarters.
Jason Tatum had 51 points in that game.
I know. Then.
By the way,
but that's what the NBA has created, though.
Also, in that
instead
game,
of him taking accountability, they've created this platform where a high-profile player, if he doesn't succeed, can always blame the coach of the organization and go somewhere where he thinks the pathway is easier. Where there are less speed traps. There are no speed bumps. That's what they've created. Maybe it changes, maybe it doesn't. We'll see. But, Embiid, if you want to know why you didn't win the championship this year, that was your Game 7 numbers, big dog.
Well, James Harden, who is embarrassingly terrible in postseason, especially clinching games, had 9 points in that finale there. And he wants out, wants to be traded.
It's Doc's fault.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, it's...
just saying.
Look, I understand what he's saying, and I'm glad. Look,
I know.
He wants to win a championship, but say, I want to win a championship in Philly. Or
how about this? Say, I got to play better in Game 7. I'm the MVP of the league, 15 and 8. Come on, man. 5 of 18, so it's not like he wasn't shooting it. 0 of 4 from 3. Come on, big fella. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Jay-Z said it best. I'm not taking the futures on the 76ers to win it next year. So it's not like I was so, unbelievably just motivated and watching them in defeat that I think they're going to bounce back next year. I probably the same kind of season. Get to the playoffs, lose in the second round. Seems to be their MO.
Think back a couple of years ago, they got knocked out by the Hawks in the second round.
By the way, they were up, 3 games to 2 in that series? Boston won Game 6 and Game 7 to beat them?
Yep.
That's why you didn't win it. Joel, just FYI.
They're 15-1. The Sixers are to win.
Yeah, I want no parts of that. What's that thing on Follow the Money? If it's 10,000 to 1 ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't take them at 10,000 to 1. Just burning money.
I mean, I probably would take him at 10,000
I
to
wouldn't.
1.
They have no shot.
It's Joel Embiid. Hey, that's your MVP. I mean, yeah.
I didn't think he should have won it this year. I told you he should have won it last year.
No, actually, he really shouldn't have won it last year.
Well, I just told you what I said.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
What do basketball, choir, drama club, and marching band all have in common? They're all high school activities that offer learning opportunities not necessarily found in the classroom. They take up just a fraction of a typical Ohio high school's budget, and they go a long way to giving young people the tools they need to thrive. High school activities, they're more than extracurricular. They're extra important, too. This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio at westernreserveradio.com on the Live 365 network and the Live 365 app.
To evaluate whether you have a lung cancer claim that qualifies you for a cash award. The consultation is absolutely free, and there is no risk and no money out of pocket. We only receive a fee when we secure you and your family a settlement. 250,000 people are diagnosed with lung cancer every year. You're not alone in this battle. We can help make sure that you and your family are financially safe and that medical expenses are covered. Again, if you've been diagnosed with lung cancer and are over age 60, call now. Don't delay. There are deadlines for filing claims. We're standing by 24/7. Call us at 1-877-614-0102. 1-877-614-0102. That's 1-877-614-0102. Attorney advertising. William Stephacker Jr. is the attorney responsible for this ad. Main office, Scranton, Pennsylvania. May not be available in all states.
If you're missing the cash in with Jason Page, then you're missing this. It's such a lazy, weak, pansy-ass take. That's what it is. To sit there and try and rain on Domingo Germán's parade. Is that where we want to go? Do we want to put an asterisk on it? Is it not real because the A's put out a substandard lineup? If it was that easy, everybody would no-hit them. Forget perfect game. They would have been no-hit 5 times. If they were that bad, and it's not even a major league team, they wouldn't have won 7 in a row, including 2 against one of the best teams in baseball. It's still a major league baseball team. 24 times in a game that's 125 years old. 24 times somebody has done what Domingo Germán has done. 24 times. The Cash In. Weeknights at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on Sports Map Radio.
First Name Sports with Greg Frank.
Victor Wembanyama says that the NBA is less physical than European basketball. You played 2 summer league games. Victor Wembanyama's kind of calling everybody in the NBA soft. There was already going to be a target on this guy's back. Now I'm sure the first time the Spurs play the Warriors, Draymond's going to remind him, you're in the NBA, brother, and we're not all pansies.
First Name Sports, weekday afternoons from 2 to 4 Eastern.
Just Saying It with Cole Thompson.
Everyone should be wanting more expansion in the likes of professional sports. And I don't know if it just means in the MLB, the NHL, the NFL, but expansion is good for multiple reasons. Let's start out with the first thing. In terms of location, to be able to have an expansion team, it allows you to be able to build a foundation for your city. Number 2, talent-wise. There is so much talent in minor league sports that we continue to see players waiting for their opportunities to go ahead and make it to the professional level. We keep waiting for an injury to happen. And then what eventually occurs is that you're no longer, quote unquote, good enough to be in the majors. I am always going to be a proponent for more expansion in a sport because if the sport itself has an opportunity of building something promising for the future, you want to raise the level of competition, the way you do so is by expansion.
Just Saying It. Weekdays from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m.
Sports Kings with Mean Gene.
I got an email yesterday, and they said, Mean Gene, we love your show. Sports Kings is all good, but you guys are not talking hockey, okay? And I replied back, okay, well, I don't know if you realize or not, but we are black. And we don't know a lot about hockey, okay? I'm sorry. We're trying our best. We get you some scores, but I'll be damned if we're going to sit up here and talk about something we don't know about.
Sports Kings, weekday afternoons from 4 to 6 Eastern.
Hi, it's Mark Means, host of By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on Western Reserve Radio. The Giants and Reds were suspended at 2 apiece. They'll pick up the game this afternoon with 1 out in the top of the 8th. The Giants have won 5 straight and 6 of 7. They'll start with runners on 2nd and 3rd. The Tigers put up 3 runs in the top of the 8th to rally past Kansas City 3-2 on Monday. The Guardians shut out the Pirates 11-0 in Pittsburgh Monday. Cleveland able to snap a 4-game skid. Josh Naylor, 3 RBI with a home run and a double. Naylor's 6th-inning RBI double extended his hitting streak to 8 games and gave Cleveland a 5-0 lead at the time. Andres Jimenez hit a 2-run homer. Cleveland pitched its 9th shutout, 1 shy of the major league high. Pirates starter Quinn Priester ripped for 7 runs on 7 hits over 5 1/3. The Guardians sit a game and a half out of first place in the American League Central. For lightning fast updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of North America's most popular sports apps. That's the Sports Flash. Chuck Sanders, Western Reserve Radio.
Right now at Wendy's, when you buy either Dave's Single, Spicy Chicken Sandwich, Medium Frosty, or 10-piece nuggets, you can get another for just $1. Your dollar never tasted so good. So it's obvious what everyone will get, right?
Definitely nugs
Spicy
and
chicken
a Frosty.
sandwich,
Dave's Single and a Frosty for me.
and a Frosty. Okay, who said Frosty and a Frosty? Pick your obvious choice. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's, buy one, get one for $1.
Limited time only. Price of participation may vary. U.S. Wendy's, valid for item of equal or lesser value. Cannot be combined in a combo or any other offer.
Gain presents a tale of longing and long-lasting scent. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Add Gain scent beads for an even longer lasting scent.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Mill Creek Golf Course has been the Valley's leader for golfing fun since 1928. It features 36 challenging holes designed by the legendary Donald Ross and was voted a top 30 municipal facility by Golf Week in 2012. The Mill Creek Golf Shop is a certified Callaway Golf custom fitting center and is stocked with your favorite golf apparel and accessories. Mill Creek Golf Course is now booking tee times for this year's golf season. Please call us at 330-740-7112 or online at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan.
Separated.
We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
Idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was
the
fine.
most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Message.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
The game is over, but this time, instead of asking how many goals did you score or what were your stats, try asking these questions. Were you a good teammate? Were you coachable? Did you give 100%? And did you have fun? Because those are the values that school sports instill in Ohio's young people, where winning and losing are secondary to the life lessons that will stay with kids long after their playing days are over. This is the Ohio High School Athletic Association. Educate through sports.
This is Matt Lipsack, the voice of the Youngstown Phantoms, and your home for Phantoms hockey is Western Reserve Radio.
Well, first off, he wanted Russell Westbrook, then he wanted him. I don't know.
I mean, the last 5 years have kind of been the same.
He wanted
narrative
to go to Brooklyn
every year.
That didn't play out. And let's bring JVT back in. That was kind of weird. But JVT, I'll just go quickly here. The James Harden situation. Where are we on this moving forward?
Pretty much where we're at, man. Like the Clippers have given them the offer. Like, look, they're not giving up a bunch. I got to talk to Tamara Zarley out there at the Summer League. I think it was on Saturday or Sunday. Covers the Los Angeles Clippers. And he said the same thing, that the Clippers have made their offer. It does not involve a guy like Terrence Mann. It involves maybe some salary cap filler and some fringe picks. And that's going to be it. There's not really a strong market for James Harden. Remember, there's a reason why he opted in, to make himself a little bit more tradable, because the salary is under $40 million. So it sounds like there's not like a strong appetite to go and get James Harden, because remember, we have the MO now. It's a guy who is going to play with you for a year and a half, then demand a trade. I mean, that's at least what he's been doing so far. No team wants to really invest a lot of assets into something like that. He wants to play for the Los Angeles Clippers. A report on that comes out like every other day that the Clippers are his preferred team. A new report today said that once they signed Russell Westbrook, that solidified it for him. He wants to go to LA. So his people are doing his thing, at least to get that message out there. But I think the Clippers don't want to give up a lot. And I think Daryl Morey doesn't want to give him up for nothing. And this is where we're at right now. And I think it speaks to, I know you're going to ask about Embiid, speaks to a pretty big offseason and just a big year for the Philadelphia 76ers in terms of what they're going to do with their roster. But right now, we're at where we're at. I don't think Harden's going anywhere anytime soon.
It's the same thing every kind of year. This time of year, JVT, James is upset. He's disgruntled. He'd rather be somewhere else in the place he is. So I'm sure he'll go to the Clippers. And, at this point next year, he'll be talking about, getting back to Houston because of family. And just kind of seems to be, one of those guys that, for whatever reason, is slightly grumpy. But I guess L.A. makes sense. Isn't he originally from California?
Yeah.
And then
he's from out there, Sean. It makes sense. Like, he wants to play with Westbrook. And look, I will say this, guys. I think he fits with L.A. Like, if he's going to be a third option, remember he led the league last year in assists in the regular season. He could fit basketball-wise. Now, if they're going to start him and Russell Westbrook together, I would say absolutely not. So hopefully Russ will be willing to come off of the bench in that regard. But regardless, like, if it's him, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, the basketball fit is there. It's just monetarily, do you want to invest in that much? Do you want to ship assets off? Do you trust that he wants to be there? Like you said, Sean, California's a big state. What if in a year he's like, nah, I don't really like this. I'm going to go to play with these other California teams. So it's a risk for the Clippers to go and ship off anything, which is why I think the deal is really scant, and it's just why they're not really willing to move that much.
I can see James showing up to the first game with a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Laker jersey. That would be very Harden-like.
We're talking to Jonathan Van Tobel at JVT. JVT, we quickly, this offseason's kind of been fast. But now that we take a little bit of a step back, who did you, after all they did, who in your opinion bettered themselves the most, in your opinion, this offseason?
So the teams, the win totals are out, and there's some win total bets worth making, I think, guys. But at the top of the list for me is the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think Cleveland, you go back to last offseason, right? And what Denver didn't really turn any heads. KCP, Bruce Brown, cool. Good fringe depth additions that'll help your bench and it'll help your roster overall. Those guys were integral pieces to winning a championship, as we now know. And I think this is the same thing here. When you're talking about George Niang and Max Strus, on the surface, you're like, all right, cool. Those pieces fit. It's what Cleveland needs, but you're not going to move the needle for it. But I think it can have the same effect. Those are two really good depth pieces. They needed shooting in a big way. They got it in both of those. Strus fits nicely next to Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. Now they have George Niang, who can play at power forward. You can go small. You can put Mobley at the 5. You can do all sorts of different things with lineup versatility. I think this team has good regular season team in the making written all over it. Win total is at 49.5. I would bet that over. I think they're going to be a legitimately good team next year. Out of all of them, I think they got a lot better. And the teams around them, I think you can argue, got worse. I think Boston got a little bit worse. There's a chance Philly, when the smoke clears, doesn't have James Harden. It doesn't have Damian Lillard. I think there's a real case to be made for Cleveland after the additions and how the Eastern Conference shakes out around them, that they're going to come up roses, man. I really like what they did.
Speaking of the Midwest, Milwaukee kind of status quo. What did you make of them just hey, let's bring back the crew and hopefully this works for us?
Hey, don't forget they added Jay Crowder and Malik Beasley, right? So that's going to make a big difference. No, I agree. Overall, I think there should be some, not concern, but I think you're kind of looking and all right, Chris Middleton's getting a little bit older, and this core has been together for a while, and the offense isn't as dynamic as it once was. What are the changes going to be here outside of scheme? Is there anything that's really going to take shape here? And remember, Middleton's starting to miss some time. So I'm very much curious to see what the changes are going to be from a schematic standpoint for Milwaukee. Because when you look around at the way the Eastern Conference is shaken out, and you're we're talking about a team like Cleveland and whatnot, to kind of just stay stale and try to continue to run this thing back with changes on the fringe, I just don't really love it at all. So I think they're going to be good because they have Giannis Antetokounmpo. But when you get to the postseason in the best of 7, will those issues start to pop up again is what I really wonder, because that offense got really stagnant when it wasn't getting out and running, and that was part of a big problem with a lot of other things, including availability with aging stars.
You can follow him on Twitter at @JVT. He's been a
JVT.
busy man down there at Summer League. It's all wrapped up now. JVT, great stuff down at Summer League. We appreciate it as always, man.
Hey, it's not close to being over. FIBA World Cup starts in about a month. We're already breaking down the rosters, so that'll be great. Team Canada, 6-1. Check them out.
Hey, JVT, speaking of your Cavs, go ahead and throw a little something down on Imani Bates, Rookie of the Year.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Don't do that. Don't do that. Sean likes to tell people to light money
Hey, man,
on
he
fire.
did it for the city of Cleveland, man. Summer League championship.
All right. I'll book the action.
This radio commercial was made to convince you to stop speeding. We can't use siren sound effects on the radio, so we'll use other equally jarring sound effects to get your attention. Like telling you that whether you drive a little over the speed limit or a lot, you can crash just the same. You could hurt yourself, or worse, others.
I'm at the scene of the collision.
And the damage you cause will be beyond repair. See? We didn't have to use crash or siren sounds after all. Speeding catches up with you. Brought to you by NHTSA.
Think of everything you do to provide for your family. A home, food on the table, healthcare, vacations, and saving for your kids' education. It's all good as long as you're alive, but it's only a drop in the bucket of what they'll need if you die without life insurance. Buying term life insurance is not something you can afford to put off. Call the Term Lifeline now for the lowest possible rates on quality term life insurance. Term life rates are at all-time lows, and we can save you up to 70%. If you already have coverage, you could be paying too much. One call could save you thousands of dollars. We have great rates for smokers, too, or if you have health problems. Providing for today is good, but it's not enough if you die prematurely. Call the Term Lifeline today for a free quote. Protect your family and see if you could save up to 70%.
866-549-TERM. 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 That's 866-549-8376.
You're going on a trip, but where are you going to stay? How much will it cost? Well, it'll cost less by booking on besthotelrates.com. BestHotelRates.com works with all the top hotels in the country while delivering you great hotel and room choices for the best prices. Why wait? Go to BestHotelRates.com, enter your email address, and start shopping for your next hotel room. BestHotelRates.com, it's in the name. BestHotelRates.com. First Name Sports with Greg Frank.
Victor Wembanyama says that the NBA is less physical than European basketball. You played 2 summer league games. Victor Wembanyama is kind of calling everybody in the NBA soft. There was already going to be a target on this guy's back. Now I'm sure the first time the Spurs play the Warriors, Draymond's going to remind him, you're in the NBA, brother, and we're not all pansies.
First Name Sports, weekday afternoons from 2 to 4 Eastern. Imagine learning about radio and being mentored by true radio professionals in real radio stations. Well, actually, you don't have to imagine, because there's Radio Connection. Radio Connection gives you the opportunity to learn one-on-one and be mentored by radio pros. Plus, you don't have to worry about getting into a crazy amount of debt with school tuition either. Radio Connection keeps their tuition at much lower costs. To find out more info, visit radioconnection.com. This is Prime Time with Tim Murray and Sean King on the Sports Map Radio Network.
This is VSiN Prime Time with Tim Murray and Sean King on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Up to the plate for BetMGM's new Swing for the Fences free-to-play for the chance to win a prize every day this baseball season. Pick an area of the strike zone and take your best swing in this free-to-play game. If you get a single, double, triple, or home run, you'll receive a prize. Smash a home run to collect a bonus bet on us. Just log into your BetMGM account to get started. Swing for the fences with the king of sportsbooks. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. 21 and over to wager. BetMGM.com for T's and C's. U.S. promotional offer. Not available in D.C., Kansas, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, 877-8-HOPE-NY. Thanks, as always, to Jonathan Von Tobel. High on the Cavs, over 49.5, he said, is worth a play. So that is an early win total being dished out there. As he mentioned, go in the break, he said, the FIBA World Cup is coming up. Yeah, it's over in...
is that the thing that Wembanyama opted out of for his country?
Yeah, he's not going to play. The United States is, let's just say, not loaded. A lot of younger players on the U.S. this year, but Canada, Jamal Murray's going to play. So he said 6-1. Maybe take a look at the old Canadians. So we'll see. But, yeah, I think that's coming up sometime in the month of August. We're going to talk a little Boise State, Sean, coming up bottom of the hour. BJ Rains, who covers all things Boise State, is here at Circa for Mountain West Media Days, which get going tomorrow. He will give us his thoughts on the Broncos and will they grab the Mountain West Championship. It's been a couple years, Sean. They went undefeated last year in conference play, but then our guy Jake Hayner took care of business on the Smurf turf.
Yeah. Boise's kind of lost a little bit of their kind of aura. I think if you go back a decade and you would ask most people, okay, who would be the group of 5 teams that would be in a Power 5 conference now? Boise probably would be a name that came up quite often. So they're battling a little bit of they've gotten kind of set to the side because of expansion and not being able to convince one of these big conferences, whether it be the Pac-12 or the Big 12 or any of them, to add them, as a new member. So it kind of isolates you a little bit, especially in recruiting.
Yeah, we can talk to BJ about that after we get a preview. But intriguing team, no doubt. And they come right out of the gates. They go on the road to Seattle to take on Washington, north of a 2-touchdown underdog in that one. And then UCF in week number 2 up there on the Smurf turf. So they're challenging themselves. There's no doubt. They also go to Memphis, a non-conference game a little bit later on in the month. But it's been since 2019, Sean, since Boise State has won the conference. So we will see if they can pull it off this year. I think it was, if I remember correct, Fresno last year, Utah State, I want to say, won it 2 years ago, if I remember correctly. I think they pulled the upset over San Diego State. San Jose State won it during the COVID year. So a preview of Boise State coming up in just a little bit. We are hoping to get some coaches to come in studio on Thursday. That's when the coaches for the Mountain West have their media availability. So we will hopefully have some of those coaches come on through the studio. But producer Britton found this piece of video, which we're going to get to here in just a moment. But it's regarding Laramie Tunsil, who still is on the Houston Texans, ladies and gentlemen.
And they low-key have a decent offensive line.
Yeah. So you got Laramie Tunsil down there. You've got
Kenyon Green. They traded for Shaq Mason.
Kenyon Green was
Juice is the center. Like, they low-key got a decent offensive line for the young quarterback, C.J. Stroud.
I mean, you look at the offensive line, Laramie Tunsil should have been a first-round pick, if not for the – did he end up going in the first round?
Yeah.
He did dropped. He dropped. Yeah, that's right.
Remember, he had the smoker's mask.
Yeah. I knew he had that. I couldn't remember if he dropped all the way out. So you got a first-round pick in Tunsil. You have a first-round pick, as you alluded to, in Green. First-round pick in Titus Howard. Second-round pick in Juice Struggs. And they went out and got Shaq Mason. So, yeah, they actually have a pretty intriguing offensive line. They also brought in Dalton Schultz to be their tight end this year from Dallas. I don't know what John Mechie brings. Remember, he dealt with a cancer scare. But you got John Mechie, Robert Woods, Nico Collins. So I don't know. I mean, the Texans.
I mean, you don't love their skill guys.
They don't stink.
But they were competitive last year.
Yeah.
Damian Pierce, one of the better running backs. Brought in Devin Singletary to back him up. I mean, they don't stink. But I don't. We'll see. They're going to be competitive. I don't know if they got enough juice to win a lot of four-quarter games, meaning that roster lacks depth. You know, there's some gaps and holes in it, but we'll see. But the division's not overly difficult.
Yep. Got Tennessee, obviously Jacksonville, Indianapolis, 2 rookie quarterbacks, a team in Tennessee that went out, got DeAndre Hopkins, and then Jacksonville, who everyone's kind of anointed as the champs there. So, things are different once that bullseye's on your back. So we'll see how Jacksonville responds as one of the biggest favorites to win their division this year. If you were DeMeco Ryans, what would be the way, Sean, you would go about C.J. Stroud's rookie year? Because he's
playing day one.
No. I know he's playing day one. I'm saying schematically. Are you going out zinging it around? Or are you relying a little bit more on Dameon Pierce and that backfield? What's your game script for C.J. Stroud?
I run a regular NFL offense without a lot of at the line of scrimmage quarterback responsibility early. And as I feel like he can handle more, I'll give him more. But, I mean, I'm going to draw up the same game plan as I would if I had, a veteran quarterback. We might have to live with some bad calls early in the year or some calls where, the numbers aren't in our favor. But, I mean, this is part of him growing. Can you find completions? Can you do the little things to get first downs, keep the drive moving? So I would anticipate that they'll be fairly aggressive as they can be. Of course, I still think they're going to be a run-first team. I think the mentality for DeMeco will be just like you saw in San Francisco without the talent. They'll try and be real creative in the run game, play great defense, get games to the fourth quarter. But, I mean, from a talent and production standpoint, I think you could say they have the least talented, least accomplished wide receiver group in the league.
So Houston in week 1, Sean, is the biggest underdog on the board. They are a 9.5-point underdog at Baltimore. And when you were out doing the mornings last week, Jared Smith, we did an exercise and we went through the entire schedule as if we were playing Circus Survivor and gave out our picks. So we've got, the big board out there. And
how'd that go?
I don't know. I mean, I picked a favorite every week, and only in the first road team I picked was week 18.
What'd you go with in week 1?
So I went with Minnesota.
Yeah, I was looking at that over the Bucks.
Yeah, because Minnesota, Sean, is a 6.5-point favorite, one of the biggest spreads on the board. Kansas City's a bigger spread. They're 7 against Detroit. We talked about Baltimore. But the question I was going to ask to you, Sean, is, and I mapped it out. I think I have it here in my notes here. I think I used Baltimore like week 12 or something like that. I just looked at it. Minnesota's a team that I think does have regression likely.
Okay.
And this was really the only spot I could use Minnesota. I ended up using Baltimore. I held them to week 14 when they played the Rams at home. But my question to you, Sean, is I think Baltimore will be the most popular Survivor play week 1 here at Circa Survivor, who's already got 1,282 entries.
Let me
ask you this. So, is that a mistake to use Baltimore against Houston week 1?
After what happened last year, just getting to the second week, I mean,
it's true.
Is something I would probably just looking at it right now, I'd probably be leaning Washington at home versus the Cardinals.
Okay.
That's probably where I would be leaning. Tough division, so I'm probably not going to use Washington for any of their division games.
I actually like that.
Yeah.
I didn't use Washington, but I think especially tomorrow when I believe the sale becomes official, there will be juice.
Yeah, there'll be some momentum
in that stadium.
The crowd will be there. Yeah.
I mean,
I'll probably use Washington
for a stadium. I think Washington actually is a very good selection because, to your point, you're probably not going to use Washington, whose win total is 7.5.
Yeah,
they're not going to be a 6-point favorite the rest of the year.
Going up against Colt McCoy, most likely.
The only thing that you would have to be slightly worried about is your guy. You love him.
And I'm not worried about him at all. Yeah, not at all.
You love him.
That's actually
your guy, Sam Howell.
One of the reasons I'm backing him.
I do actually think that Washington's a very good selection. I would think Minnesota or Washington would be the one. By the way, just a quick reminder, Sean and I are going on the road 2 weeks from Friday. We'll be up in Reno.
Yeah, that's August something,
Sparks,
right?
August 4th. We'll have more details when the crew comes in studio on Thursday, but we'll be at Legends Bay up there at the Circa Sportsbook. So if you want to come on by, hang out, sign up for the contest, feel free. Mountain West Media Days are here at Circa, and we're talking about the favorite in the conference.
Attention individuals and businesses struggling with tax debt during the COVID-19 pandemic. The IRS Deputy Commissioner has just announced the Taxpayer Relief Initiative. To take advantage of the new program, you need to call United Tax Fix right now. United Tax Fix will help you settle your tax bill for an amount you can afford, remove or reduce penalties, stop negative collection actions, and negotiate affordable monthly payments. Don't ignore your tax bill. Negotiate and resolve your tax debt now. And take advantage of the new Taxpayer Relief Initiative program. Even if you've been rejected or turned down in the past, you may qualify for a settlement under these new guidelines. Here's the bottom line. If you're struggling with your tax bill, you can't afford to wait. You need to call United Tax Fix right now. For a free phone consultation, call 800-762-2768. That's 800-762-2768. 800-762-2768.
First Name Sports with Greg Frank.
We bring on the legend himself, Joey Chestnut. It was my sophomore year of high school, and we did a wing bowl every Friday before the Super Bowl. I came out red hot. I had 30 wings in the first round, and I was feeling really good about my chances to win. And the odds-on favorite for the event was a wrestler who showed up late. They stalled 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it was, in between the first round and the start of the second round to let him back in. Eventually, I got down to the semifinals and vomited and was disqualified from the event. I believe that I was robbed of a wing bowl championship my sophomore year. What say you?
That's a tragic story in so many ways. Oh, my God. They put the rules, but then there's nothing like a disqualification. Getting sick. Oh, my God. You have to know your limits a little bit. Part of it's your fault.
Wow. So you think it's a fair ruling?
You have to own it. If you heave, you leave.
I guess that's a point for the administration at my high school. I didn't want them to win here, but when Joey says it, I guess I got to listen.
First Name Sports, weekday afternoons from 2 to 4 Eastern.
Wake up call! If you have a submarine with windows, it can't go that deep because the pressure is too great. You know, you could make a plexiglass thing thick enough to withstand the pressure. He says, but you can't seal it.
Oh, yeah, right.
And I was like, I don't know, man. Flex tape looks like it works pretty good.
Exactly. I sawed this boat in half, and I sealed it with Flex Seal. Look, Ma, I'm not sinking.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 9 to noon Eastern.
Just saying it with Cole Thompson.
The Orioles have got to be one of the more impressive teams in Major League Baseball this year. What do we know about a team like Baltimore? Well, they have a few young players who have been on this roster for a little while during the downtrodden years. What else do we know? They have a younger talent on the way up right now. And after having 3 consecutive losing seasons of 100-plus losses, last season, you saw a breakout year from Baltimore, with the young talent stepped up, with the old talent was kind of locked in, and they didn't make the playoffs, but you knew that they were something special. And the only reason they are not winning the AL East is because Tampa Bay exists. Orioles are a team that right now have vastly exceeded their coverage, and they're not slowing down anytime soon. You want to go ahead and talk about a team's turnaround? There's no better team right now than Baltimore when it comes to that.
Just saying it. Weekdays from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. The diehards.
And then all of a sudden, a sweeper pitch comes in. She goes, what's a sweeper? And I looked at her and I went, I don't know. Hey, Siri, what's a sweeper pitch? What is going on? Like, I felt like I was lost. And I'm like, I cover sports. I know this. And again, I'm a knucklehead fan on the radio, but I'm like, what is this? And then I'm seeing slurve. And I'm going, what? Like, am I gone?
The Diehards, weeknights from 8 to 10 Eastern on the Sports Map Radio Network.
You're listening to Prime Time with Tim Murray and Sean King on the Sports Map Radio Network.
This is VSiN Prime Time with Tim Murray and Sean King on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
The NFL betting guide is out, and our college football guide is coming out in just a couple weeks. I will be tackling the Mountain West for that guide here shortly. Only VSiN Pro subscribers get all the tools to prep for the college and NFL seasons. Our college experts provide profiles of every team and advanced stats and power ratings, plus best bets on futures and season win totals. Sign up before the end of July and receive both guides and full VSiN Pro access all the way through the Super Bowl at an early bird discount of $175. Or you can sign up for a monthly subscription, get your first 30 days for only $17. See everything VSiN has to up your betting game. This offer does end at the end of the month, July 31st, so don't miss out on the preseason deals. Visit vsin.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today. It is VSiN Prime Time, and it is our pleasure as the Mountain West Media Days will kick off tomorrow here at Circa to welcome in from Bronco Nation News, the Boise State beat reporter, BJ Rains, joins us here in studio. You can follow him on Twitter at BJ Rains. BJ, appreciate you jumping in studio. It's another year and another situation where Boise is the favorite to win this conference. As the year went on last year and they made the switch to Taylor Green, what kind of changed? Because the loss to UTEP was certainly stunning to many. Yeah. But then, lo and behold, I know they didn't win the conference. Still went 8-0 in the regular season. So what flipped last season, and do you think that carries over this year?
Well, I mean, it was, Sean's buddy Dirk Cutter, too.
Yeah.
I think had a big part of it. So I think a lot of it was, what was the bigger impact, switching quarterbacks, switching coordinators, the fact that it happened at the exact same time, I think, make it a little tough to handicap. But they made some serious changes. And so, Boise State and the fans, I still think, are used to the 12-0, 13-0, killing more type days. It hasn't exactly been that the last, couple of years, obviously. And I think Andy Avalos has it where it wants to go. But Taylor Green is a special talent, man. His running ability, I think he had 2 touchdowns of runs of over 60-plus yards. I mean, he's a special talent. So they feel really good about him. We'll find out tomorrow morning whether or not he's the conference player of the year or not. I think he's going to be in the running for sure. But he's a special talent. In a year or two, we'll be talking about him going to the NFL. I mean, he's technically eligible as a redshirt sophomore this year. Mm-hmm. I think he probably sticks around another year. But if he, blows up and has a great year, I mean, you're talking about a 6'5". I mean, he's got all the talents. He wears number 10. Like, it's a lot of people in Boise, similarities to Vince Young in terms of the size and things that he can do. So he just came in, I think, provided a different element from the running game. The offensive line really struggled last year, but he was able to, with his legs, run and do some things. So I think that he's a very special player, and Boise State's very excited about their offense. They got, the running game are both back. They got the receivers back. But when you have a guy like, TG10, as they call him up in Boise, back, I think they feel really excited about what his chances are this year.
Yeah, you talk about him being a dual threat in that running game with Halani and those guys, like, really, really strong. Is it enough to carry them to a Mountain West championship. I mean, that's a spoiled fan base. 3 years in a row, no trophies, no banners.
Yeah.
I mean, 10-4 looks good on paper, but they expect titles. Can they get it done? Some question marks on defense. Running game probably will be best in the conference outside of maybe an Air Force or somebody. Is it going to be enough, you think, to finally bring that Mountain West trophy back to Boise?
Well, I mean, I will say this. They changed the way they do the conference this year. There's no divisions.
Mm-hmm.
So the top 2 teams just play for the titles. They're switching to in some of the other conferences. And, that changes things a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, on paper, Boise State is clearly the number 1 team in the conference. I mean, Fresno State obviously won the league last year, but lost the quarterback, lost Cropper, the receiver, and some of those guys. So I think that, on paper, it should be Boise State. But you talk about the last 3 years. I mean, yeah, it's great. Give them one in 2019 against, Hawaii, but then there's one in 17, then you got to go all the way back to 14. So, I mean, you're talking about like 3 titles in the last, 8, 9, 10 years here for a team that's used to winning it every single year. And, they've got aspirations this year. The problem this year, I know it doesn't matter for the conference, but the schedule's very tough. Opening at Washington, having to play UCF at home in the first 2 games. I mean, there's a good probability they're 0-2, and yet you still feel they could go 10-2. So I think the schedule doesn't help them this year, but from everything I'm hearing, the players are bought in. They feel this, in Andy Avalos year 3 here, really getting it going. I think they feel like, with all the conference realignment stuff out there too, like, don't forget about us. Like, right. I feel Boise State's like a team that like is, I don't want to say sleeper, but I mean, I feel like they're a team this year that a lot of people are like, they got something to prove this year and they want to show that whether it be nationally or conference realignment or maybe just in the Mountain West, I don't think they want people to forget about them this year.
It's interesting. I was talking to Tim about this earlier. I coached at University of South Florida and we kind of went through the same thing Boise did. We were really good, but we kind of got left out of the conference realignment. They took Cincinnati, Houston, BYU, and UCF, and USF didn't, get taken. What does the future look like for Boise? What's the best case scenario? Is it Pac-12? Is it like a super conference? Like in the eyes of the Bronco, faithful, what's the best case scenario for them?
I would say Big 12, to be honest. Like, you got BYU in there now. I think they feel like they could be a good travel partner for them, for the soccer and volleyball teams and stuff. You play in Provo, Salt Lake to Boise's, 4 or 5 hour drive. I think like just the way that the mindsets and the universities and stuff, I think Boise State actually fits better with the Big 12. Now, whether or not that's actually a possibility, I have no idea. But I think at one point there was a Memphis-Boise State kind of tandem to join, was kind of a pipe dream at some point. But, who knows? And like I said, I think BYU is an advocate for Boise State. It'd be nice to have a rival, have a team that's close. I think certainly Pac-12, they're not going to turn them down if they get the offer. But I also think, like, the way the system's set up right now, like, if Boise State can dominate the group of 5, like, you can still get in this 12-team playoff and you can still, like, be the premier team because the teams you were competing against, UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, are all gone. They're all in the Big 12 now. So you could argue, like, what's better, to be the 7th or 8th team going into the Big 12 season, like a Cincinnati or a UCF, or be a Boise State that has a chance to, win their conference and get in the playoff that way. So I think there's both sides of it. The fan base in Boise certainly feels like, hey, why is San Diego State getting in the Pac-12? Why is all these teams getting talked about? They still feel like they deserve to be in there. But Cincinnati picked up a great time to have back-to-back undefeated seasons. Right. Like, it's not hurt. Like Boise State is just they had, for all the great years Boise State had, like they've had a couple years with a new coach and stuff where it just hasn't been great on the field, and that's for whether it's right or wrong. I think that's played into a little bit about this. So I think they still feel confident that at some point when this all shakes out, they'll be included. But if not, like, it's not the worst place to be, at least in the current system, if you can dominate that group of 5.
This was interesting. And strategically, having been to the group of 5 against South Florida, you went out of your way to schedule big name, high profile, Power 5 opponents in your non-con because you felt like you needed, that national exposure. But now with the new system, just going undefeated, winning your conference and being the highest rated group of 5 kind of gets you in. It'll be interesting. Is there a shift with the Boise States and the App States and, the schools that
Tulane.
The Tulane as well. Yeah. Not to schedule, really difficult out of conference, because 2 losses, no matter who they're against could, have
and Boise State's
impact.
got Oregon coming up for a home and home. They got Oregon State. Why? Like, They just always schedule tough. And, but the AD has said that, and they actually canceled the series. Michigan State was supposed to come, I think, this year to the Blue, and they canceled the series, and a lot of the fans were disappointed and upset, and he's like, there's no reason for us to play some of these games. Like you're saying, like if we can just, and this year's different. You're playing at Washington. You have UCF at home. They're also playing at Memphis. Right. That's a crazy non-conference season. They could be 1-4. I mean, they seriously could be 1-4, but finish 9-4 and still win the conference and be 10-4. And, a worst case scenario, you go to the SoFi Bowl or the LA Bowl in SoFi Stadium. So, I do think you're going to see that. And if you're a group of 5 team, like I said, with all these other teams leaving, like, there's a guaranteed spot for one of those teams. The Idahos of the world, the Idaho States, come on into town. We'll beat you 50. we'll beat you 55-3, and we'll take our win and we'll move on. And I hate to say it, but the Mountain West is not that good this year. Like we mentioned, Fresno.
Gone.
Yeah, you can mention San Diego State. I think Air Force. There's a little bit of buzz for them. I know there's some sleepers like Colorado State, Wyoming, whatever. But there's some really bad teams in the Mountain West this year. And so I think a lot of the fans 8-0, 7-1 at worst, 8-0 needs to happen for Boise State. And they do a pretty good job in conference of taking care of business. It's the championship game that they've slipped up a little bit. But, the league's not that great this year. So, we'll see moving forward what it means. But I think right now, you try to just be respectable against Washington. Nobody's expecting them to win that. You come home, I think the swing game is the UCF game at home. They got a new scoreboard. They're going to have a record crowd. That's going to be the big new lights. That's going to be the big game. And then, they're back-to-back on the road at San Diego State and then at Memphis. They got a really tough schedule. So I agree with you. I think the scheduling is going to change moving forward. It already has for Boise State, but this year, not doing them any favors.
Oh, man. Thanks for hanging out. By the way, Tim, you just got there. Boy, if you haven't been to Boise, Idaho, I'm telling you, it's a great city.
Yeah, no, it has been an absolute blast. You got time to hang out a little bit more? Go a little more in depth?
Why not?
All right.
Sure.
BJ Rains, he is the Boise State beat reporter, new offensive coordinator up in Boise, taking over for your guy, Dirk Cutter. Andy Avalos, year number 3. So a little more in-depth breakdown of the favorite. Will they take the crown for the first time since 2019? Boise State talk. Keep it on.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Are you over the age of 60 and been diagnosed with lung cancer? If so, you and your family may qualify for a cash award. Our experienced attorneys are standing by to evaluate whether you have a lung cancer claim that qualifies you for a cash award. The consultation is absolutely free, and there is no risk and no money out of pocket. We only receive a fee when we secure you and your family a settlement. 250,000 people are diagnosed with lung cancer every year. You're not alone in this battle. We can help make sure that you and your family are financially safe and that medical expenses are covered. Again, if you've been diagnosed with lung cancer and are over age 60, call now. Don't delay. There are deadlines for filing claims. We're standing by 24/7. Call us at 1-877-614-0102. 1-877-614-0102. That's 1-877-614-0102. Attorney advertising. William Stephacker Jr. is the attorney responsible for this ad. Main office, Scranton, Pennsylvania. May not be available in all states.
Wake up call! Super agent Drew Rosenhaus, while fishing with Tyreek Hill, decided to jump in the water and wrestle a shark.
Wrestle a shark?
Yeah, there was a shark on the line. They were releasing it, and Drew decided to jump into the water and mess with the dusky shark, which is a smaller shark,
right,
but still's got a lot of teeth.
I wouldn't wrestle a shark in the desert where it's dying from lack of water. You're in his territory.
That shark would eat you.
Remember that guy, the grizzly man that went into was in Alaska filming the bears? And he really thought that they were his friends. He really got to a point where he thought he could predict their behavior. And then one bear tore him to pieces.
The animal kingdom had no idea that Steve Irwin was their biggest champion on the planet.
That's right. They had no clue.
They had no clue. Stabbed him.
It's why they unfortunately had to shoot that gorilla.
Harambe.
Right? That's right, Harambe. I'm sorry. I forgot his name. Rest in peace, Harambe.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 9 to noon Eastern.
Sports Kings with Mean Gene.
It's going to be interesting to see how Fox scale it down with the new host, if they scale it down at all.
Who do you think is a good candidate to replace him?
Oh, I don't know.
You want to throw your hat in the ring?
No, because unlike Shannon, I would probably have to knock the hell out of Skip on TV. It'd be like Jim Rome and Everett, and I don't want to catch a charge. I couldn't take it. They would have to come pull me off of Skip Bayless.
Sports Kings, weekday afternoons from 4 to 6 Eastern.
If you're missing the Cash In with Jason Page, then you're missing this.
not to get all geeky, but his
get geeky, please.
A lot of his underlying stats like barrel rate and just average exit velocity, they all looked great last year. It was kind of there we go. All right, you were setting me up the entire time. I'm done.
Barrel rate. Can I do a little ASMR?
I mean, if you are going to start that OnlyFans, I think that could go well.
In play.
Expected ERA.
Expected wins above replacement. Oh, that's great. Nothing turns me on more than batted balls in play.
Expected WOBA.
The Cash In, weeknights at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on Sports Map Radio.
Wake up call. 3 simple steps to avoid getting screwed by Hard Knocks. Number 1, create the illusion of some competition that's utterly meaningless. The other thing is focus on a player you're going to cut, but find a quirky player that you can sort of steer Hard Knocks' way. And then also teach your coaching staff another language that nobody can understand.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 9 to noon Eastern.
Prime Time with Tim Murray and Sean King continues now on the Sports Map Radio Network.
This is VSiN Prime Time with Tim Murray and Sean King on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks, unleashes the spirit of Las Vegas with BetMGM rewards. Every time you make a wager at BetMGM, you can earn BetMGM reward points that you can redeem for online bonus credits like bonus bets and bet insurance tokens. Planning a trip to Vegas, you can also convert your BetMGM points into BetMGM reward points that you can use towards dining, shows, and hotel rooms at over 20 MGM resort properties located on the Las Vegas Strip and nationwide. Sign up with BetMGM or log on today to get an even bigger piece of the action with BetMGM rewards. Eligibility restrictions apply. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. Must be 21 years of age or older to wager. New and existing customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days from issuance. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Mountain West Media Days here in Las Vegas, more specifically at Circa here in Vegas. It starts on Wednesday, goes through Thursday. We hope to have some coaches stopping on by on Thursday, and fortunate enough to have BJ Rains hang out with us from, you can follow them on Twitter at BNN Bronco Nation, Bronco Nation News, and he is the Boise State beat reporter. So Andy Avalos, year number 3, defensive-minded guy, certainly has the background, played at Boise State, made his hay on that coaching staff, went off to Oregon, now he's back. Year 3, how would you assess, BJ, the first 2 years of the Andy Avalos era?
I mean, if you ask fans, they'd say like so-so.
Right.
Like, I mean, I think 10 wins is kind of like the bare minimum for this program, for these fans. I mean, they're pretty spoiled. I mean, Kellen Moore went 50-3. Like, I mean, it's crazy in a 4-year span. Like, they don't lose like 2 games, let alone 1. Like, to go 7-5 his first year was certainly disappointing. Last year to get off to the start you guys mentioned and lose, to UTEP on the road. I mean, that was one of the, statistically one of the worst losses in like the history of the program. They have to make
26-point favorite.
Yeah, and to lose and then have to make the changes they did. Like, it's just not what fans are used to. They rallied, they finished, and you can put whatever you want in the stock into the bowl game against North Texas. But no, I think this is a big year for him. Year 3. We mentioned it. I don't think the conference is great. I think it's there for the taking for Boise State. And, they talked a lot about, okay, he kind of weeded out the guys that weren't the OKGs, as they call them in Boise, kind of his guys, the program, the culture they want, the brotherhood, as they call it. So I think this is a big year for Boise State to really kind of say, hey, we're like I said, everyone's talking UCF, everyone's talking Cincinnati, Houston going to the Big 12. I think Boise State's kind of like, don't forget about us, man. I think this is a big year for them to try to nationally prove, not saying it's going to happen against Washington in the opener. Obviously, that's a tough game, but I still think they feel like they have something to prove. And you mentioned Andy. I mean, coming from Oregon and year 3, I mean, he's always had great defenses. But this is, year 3. I think fans want to see a conference championship and want to see some wins.
We talked about Taylor Green, really an exciting quarterback there for Boise. Sean mentioned the duo running backs of Halani and Genty. What would you say, BJ, is the strength of this Boise State team at the end of the day? Come early December, if Boise State's playing for the Mountain West Championship, why would they be there?
Oh, it's going to be, I'd like to say actually it's going to be the defense stepping up because, on paper, the offense is bringing back the quarterback, bringing back both running backs, bringing back, all the receivers. They got an all-conference lineman. They got their tight ends back. Like, the offense should be, really, really good. So I think if you're talking about a conference championship, I think you're saying, okay, some guys are going to step up on defense this year because J.L. Skinner's in camp with the Broncos. You got, Tyreek Jones in camp with the Titans. You got Scott Matlock got drafted by the Chargers, D linemen. So, they lost, some serious guys. Zeke Noah, linebacker. Caleb Biggers at corner. They lost 4 or 5 key guys that are in NFL training camps right now on this defense. And so I think they feel pretty good about the recruiting. They feel good about some of these younger guys. And you have to trust that Andy Avalos is a defensive guy. But I would say if this team's going to win a conference championship, we're expecting the offense to be good. I think it's going to be the defense stepping up this fall.
So as the college football landscape has changed with the introduction of NIL, transfer portal, it's a unique landscape. What has happened to a lot of Group of 5 programs is the Power 5 schools have come in and kind of nitpicked their best, most talented players. How has Andy gone about keeping his best players there? You talked about all the returning production. Everybody's looking for offensive linemen to have an all-conference O-lineman. How has he gotten the kids to buy in and stay?
I would say Boise State as a school in general. Even the basketball program, they made the NCAA tournament 2 years in a row. They're the only school in the Mountain West this year that did not lose a starter to the transfer portal. So, the whatever the school's doing as a whole, they've done a pretty good job of, because whenever the transfer portal came, when NIL came, everybody thought Taylor Green, Ashton Genty. Okay, you come for a year or two here, and then you go to Baylor, or you go back home to Texas where you're from, Texas Tech, whoever. And I think there was a lot of worries about that. So I don't know if it's one thing Andy's doing or one thing, but in general, they're getting some companies involved, and whether it's NIL or just the culture in Boise. I think that was a big concern from fans when that started. Was okay, we're going to because that's how Boise has built themselves, being that finding those 2 or 3 star guys that they turn into 4 or 5 star guys, the diamonds in the rough, the guys that other schools overlook. And you see a lot of times in recruiting where, Boise State offers a guy, well, then the next day 5 other schools offer because they're like, if Boise State's offering them, this guy must be pretty good. And so they built their program, I think, on a lot of the chip on the shoulder, under-recruited guys. Why did I not get offered by these bigger schools? And so I do think that was a concern early on, but to this point, it really hasn't hurt them. They have not lost in the football side or the men's basketball side. They haven't lost anybody of significance the last couple of years to the transfer portal. And so, and they've added some guys in. I think a school like Boise State, they brought in a DB from Nebraska. They brought in Colorado wide receiver, some other guys. If you're getting some playing time, but you're kind of a, fringe starter, fringe backup for a Power 5 school, why would you not want to come to a place like Boise State, be a star and help this team? So I think the transfer portal to this point has been more of a benefit for them than it's been a negative.
We're talking once again to BJ Rains, who covers Boise State. BJ, when you look at this schedule, we've alluded to it. It is a gauntlet, at least in the non-con. You start against a potential top 10 team in Washington. It's going to be an early game, which I would have liked to see under the lights, but that's going to be a 12:30 local kick at Washington, but on ABC. So certainly great eyeballs there for Boise. And then that game you mentioned back in Boise, which will be, I believe, a 5 o'clock local kick on FS1. But you look at that schedule, win total sitting at 8.5. If you like the over 8, when you look at that schedule, the Memphis game just is kind of one of those bizarre, really unique spots, right? You go to San Diego State, that's such a big game, and then you're traveling across the country to Memphis. So what is your expectation and outlook on this season here?
Well, like I said, I don't think in conference you're that worried about a lot of those games. The final regular season game against Air Force, certainly at home, I think is going to be the conference probably knew. I think Air Force is going to be one of the better teams in the league.
And I think that, sorry to interrupt, but I think that's one of those, that could be potentially one of those weird situations which we've seen in the past where they know they're playing each other the following
They could,
week.
yeah.
So
and
it's
that's
like,
a Black Friday afternoon game. I mean, yeah.
And what could that mean if you do have a win total? If you're playing over 8 and you're sitting at 8 wins, you could be sweating it out saying, is Boise State going to rest some starters? It could be a unique situation there.
And you're talking about at Fresno State, the defending conference champions, at San Diego State, year 2 of their new stadium. This is one of the. I mean, a lot of people are saying this is one of the toughest Boise State schedules in history. Wow. I mean, ever. I mean, they've played at Georgia, at Virginia Tech. I mean, they've played some big time games over the years, but to have at Washington. Obviously, when they booked the UCF series, they didn't realize probably UCF was going to be Big 12 bound and this good, but they just set that up a couple of years ago. So for your first 5 games there, I mean, the month of September, there's a lot of fans thinking they could legitimately be 1-4. But I think the UCF game is the swing game. If you can find a way to beat UCF, get to 1-1, beat North Dakota, and then go to San Diego State, potentially with a chance to win that one. If they're going to Memphis, feeling pretty good about themselves at 3-1. I think that's kind of the swing game. And I think, Boise State's played, I will say this, they've lost some home games in the past couple of years, but for the most part, they've played pretty well on the road. And
Sandrock Concrete specializes in all types of concrete, driveways, sidewalks, basements, and garages. We also do stamp-colored concrete in many different designs. We do interior and exterior stonework, regular brick and block work. Sandrock Concrete is fully insured. Call Jerry Sandrock at 330-506-0013 for an estimate. Also find them on Facebook at Sandrock Concrete LLC. Sandrock Concrete, where you deal with the owner all the time.
Miss an episode of By All Means, and you could miss a lot.
To the radio play-by-play voice and our buddy back from here at Youngstown, it is the voice Fitz. Everett Fitzhugh, my friend, how are you?
Man, it feels good to hear your voice again, Mark. Everything's going well, and definitely excited to be back on the airwaves briefly for here in Youngstown.
By All Means, Tuesdays at 5, right here on Western Reserve Radio and streaming live on westernreserveradio.com.
You're listening to Western Reserve Radio at westernreserveradio.com on the Live 365 network and the Live 365 app.
You're going on a trip, but where are you going to stay? How much will it cost? Well, it'll cost less by booking on besthotelrates.com. BestHotelRates.com works with all the top hotels in the country while delivering you great hotel and room choices for the best prices. Why wait? Go to BestHotelRates.com, enter your email address, and start shopping for your next hotel room. BestHotelRates.com, it's in the name. BestHotelRates.com. You're going on a trip, but where are you going to stay? How much will it cost? Well, it'll cost less by booking on BestHotelRates.com. BestHotelRates.com works with all the top hotels in the country while delivering you great hotel and room choices for the best prices. Why wait? Go to besthotelrates.com, enter your email address, and start shopping for your next hotel room. BestHotelRates.com, it's in the name. BestHotelRates.com. First Name Sports with Greg Frank.
I think it's a really cool moment in any sport when the future generation meet the present. Carlos Alcaraz is now 2-1 in 3 matches against Novak Djokovic. At the age of 20, he's halfway to the career Grand Slam, having already won the U.S. Open and Wimbledon. And he becomes the first player to beat Novak Djokovic on Wimbledon center court in 10 years, which means he was 10. Gosh, that was awesome. When we got the final set, I compared it to Brady and Mahomes. Obviously, Brady won the Super Bowl when they were matched up against each other. But we all knew that Mahomes was going to be around for a while and already had a Super Bowl before losing to Brady and now has a second one. And that's how it feels with Carlos. What a day. What a great way to promote tennis on the most hallowed grounds of the sport. Carlos Alcaraz has very much arrived.
First Name Sports, weekday afternoons from 2 to 4 Eastern. First Name Sports with Greg Frank.
Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers is your 2023 NBA MVP. It was going to be a real shame if Joel Embiid's entire career went without winning this thing at least once. He had been knocking on the door, and Embiid, after back-to-back runners-up, got over the hump last night. Embiid was amazing all season long. It was certainly his time. And so he needed his moment, and he got his moment last night. Good for him.
First Name Sports, weekday afternoons from 2 to 4 Eastern. Did you know you can go to a trade school college that has you learning as an apprentice in a real radio station, culinary kitchen, film studio, or in a recording studio? Stay out of debt and out of a boring college classroom and learn on the job in the real world. The Radio Connection puts you in a real radio station. The Recording Connection trains you in a real recording studio. The Film Connection has you learning under a real filmmaker. And CASA has you learning one-on-one in a real restaurant. It's your life. Amplify it now and learn as an apprentice in a unique way to get a career as a broadcaster, podcaster, chef, music producer, or filmmaker. Just visit one of our sites, radioconnection.com, recordingconnection.com, filmconnection.com, or casaschools.com. Or call 1-865-413-5724. That's 1-865-413-5724.
Sports Kings with Mean Gene.
Devontae Adams is making it clear